Oops. Okay, good evening, everybody. We're sorry we're getting a little bit. If there's anybody here for the CAP program next door, the meeting is in the other side of the, conference room number 3. Yeah, but if anybody's here for a different meeting, it's the CAP program, it's the police assistance. That's in the other room. Okay. Looking for my agenda here. Hold on a second.
Debbie, put an agenda. I don't have my agenda.
Oh, there's mine. Okay. Okay, you okay? Okay, we're going to open up the meeting with silent meditation or prayer and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have public comment on agenda items. We will have individual chances for the public to comment on each agenda. Seeing no one come forward, we'll try to close that. Okay, approval of council minutes for the meeting dated March 25th. I had one change that Debbie did on number 13, okay? So just correcting the name. Okay, is there any other changes to the agenda for March 25th? Minutes? Anything, Ron? Okay, good. Okay. Is there a motion to approve minutes?
I'll second it.
Okay, second. Okay, all in favor?
Vote aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we're going to start our Night of Champions. We probably will not see the national championship. The kids will have to write an essay about it and let me know how it went, all right? I don't have DVR, and I'm not going to see it. I'll watch it on the news, I guess. Okay, so the first group of kids we have are the 2019 Lower Bucks Middle School basketball champions, the Cecilia Snyder Middle School 8th grade boys team. Is their coach here? Okay, come on up. Thank you, Dave. And Dave, if you could tell us a brief about their accomplishments for this season and the season past. I think they were 20-0, so they're a pretty tough team.
First and foremost, thank you for having us. It's been an amazing run for us. Just to start, our boys are truly a family. We went 25-0, back-to-back undefeated seasons, entering the semifinal for Lower Bucks, knowing that we had one win to go. These guys were down most of the game to come back and unbelievably win the whole title. Just so you guys know, one of the guys involved is the athletic director from Maple School Middle School. He tried everything, including changing seats, benches, then enters our actual locker room as we were receiving a prayer over a voicemail, and he sees our players all together on 3, family, and it's what we actually became, an amazing team. So I want to congratulate them.
And speaking with you also, you mentioned that that the players on your team are leaders in the school building and in the classroom.
They are.
Yeah, which is
they are
important.
highly
too.
involved, and you'll see some of them will be recognized twice because they're on both teams.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'll mention that the second team that we're going to honor is St. Ephraim's, and some of the players are members of St. Ephraim's Parish. Okay,
Yeah,
so
their coach,
that's a parish team.
Their coach actually came up to me before we started and said it felt like a custody battle, but I said we would share custody.
They're great kids on both teams.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have some certificates for them. Mary, you want to come up, and then we'll give out some certificates and give the list of the players. There you
name first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, no problem.
Thank you, Mayor. First, we have Aiden Bergiven. Next, Danny Brenninghouse. Jose Colon is here.
Is he here?
He did call me last night. He was looking for his cell phone that was stolen at Valley.
Okay,
So
well,
he might be still looking for it.
get it.
Joey Gale. This guy here decided to stay with us in Bensalem. He had made a decision to leave us, but he decided, with some strong prayer and help, Eric Gonzalez is staying. Next, Anthony Heisey. It's our enforcer. That guy, Colin Mayo. DQ Danny Quiros. Next guy is a converted soccer player, still a soccer player, but beast on the boards, Nate Rosas. This next guy is my coach on the court, Gavin Schroeder. This guy, Nick Safran. This guy, my
Grandmom's talent, I think.
my assassin shooter, Robert Walton. This last guy is someone who last year, and he's one of our bigger guys on the team last year and this year, and I forced him last year to play the point. So he was a big point guard last year and then surrendered it to another guy this year, but Jack Weinberg. Definitely couldn't have done this without my two assistant coaches, Jamal Colbreth and Coach Elena Tiselli.
Thank you.
And these guys.
They're from Gene's office, from the House of Representatives, so you can give them out,
Okay.
okay?
Yes, sir.
You want to give them out to us?
Sure, I'll give them to him after, if that's okay.
We're not done. There's one he had here for himself, and he was going to walk away. But Officer Nieves, who I've known for a long time, we always have each other, brother. Congratulations. Yeah, I have no idea how much this guy, he gives to this community, and we're so grateful, Coach.
Thank you.
I can call you Coach tonight, okay?
Thank
All
you.
right? But for all that you do, and for this great team that you coached here with your assistants and got it done. Congratulations, everybody. Great job. What's the bow ties?
Absolutely. They didn't want to wear ties. They think bow ties are cooler.
Yeah, they
Okay.
So they go with the bow tie.
Okay, you look cool. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You get together, guys, so you get a picture.
Let's give it up, guys.
Good job, guys.
Just so you guys know, this little guy, definitely our good luck charm who was in our locker room at each of the huge games. So, little JT, our future Snyder Owl.
Now, a few of the players have to hang around, but we're going to have St. Ephraim's, who won the district region for the first time in the history of the school, and Coach Bob Heisey will announce their championships they won.
Yeah. Just like to thank the council for having us here tonight. The boys had a very good season this year. They won the Region 19 championship, I think the first time ever. They also won the St. Raphael's tournament over in New Jersey, a prestigious tournament they won. And they also won a Archdiocese game against St. Anselm's. So we made it to the Sweet 16 in there. I'd also like to congratulate the Snyder Owls for going undefeated for 2 years, Coach Dave. And that's all I got.
Here you go. Here's your certificates.
You want to read them off, Joe?
Okay, and just to let you know, we gave Coach Dave certificates from Gene DiGirolamo's office, and we have the St. Ephraim certificates on the way from his office, but we do have the township ones from the mayor and the council. Okay, so if you want to announce them, Mayor, you want to come up again for the St. Ephraim's team? Alphabetical order.
Okay. First,
Yeah, you can sit there. That's fine. He's got a better temperament than me, I think, you know?
all right, first of all, Aiden McGibbon.
Congratulations, sir. Good job.
Danny Brenninghauser. Ryan Everett, he's not here tonight. Caden Geddes, he ain't here tonight. The best point guard in the league, Eric Gonzalez.
Congratulations again, buddy. Good job.
Brett Jackson.
Congratulations again, buddy.
Good job.
Jack Weinberg.
Congratulations, son.
Thanks, Jake. Best center in the league also. And that's it.
That's it. Okay, we'll get some pictures.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
got two more-
I'm sorry. Well, you don't have anything here for him, do you?
There should be an athletic order.
No.
With these.
No.
You're missing a couple?
Oh, wait a minute. Right here. Is this him?
No,
No.
that's the other team.
Dylan. Oh, I'm sorry. Here you
Okay, there they are.
go. Oh. Dylan McNanus. I don't see Connor. To give up.
Okay, you got it? Congratulations.
Nick Saffron. I don't see Connor. You see Connor?
What's the guy's name?
Connor. I don't see his there.
Okay.
Connor Hassan.
Yeah, announce him.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. I'll give you yours. And our assistant coach, Steve Johnson, who came on late, did a great job for us. We don't have one for him. I don't know where he is from.
Yes,
This guy did.
I'll get it.
And we also had a very cute mascot right here, my grandson, Carter Robert.
Oh, here he is.
That's it.
They're extra. These are all
Yeah.
your players. Okay?
Yeah.
I guess these are his.
We need one more for him.
Yep, yeah, we'll get it. Yep. I know Connor pretty well. I see him at church, so I'll get it.
All right.
Okay. All right, so, okay, let's get some pictures here, guys. A little. And just to let you know, the way it works is St. the parish team, so these kids that are from Snyder are participating in CCD in the parish, and then makes them eligible for playing on the parish level. Okay, so any parents want pictures? Okay, congratulations.
Oh, good Lord. These aren't yours, are they?
Congratulations, guys.
Nothing is coming off of the agenda as far as I am aware, Mr. Knowles. There appear to be two items to go, well, not two, one item to go on to the agenda, which appears to be item 5B. Mr. Gans may be able to speak to it a little bit more thoroughly than I.
Yes, that'll be the record plans for Republic Bank, as well as the lot consolidation plan for Republic Bank. Reapproval of the 90 days has passed, and they're here for your signature tonight.
Okay, so does anyone want to make a motion to add that to the agenda as 5B?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Vote aye.
Any against? Okay, so we'll add 5B for reapproval and signing a record plan.
Record plan and lot consolidation.
Yes. Okay, and then number 9 is just an addition to number 9? Is that a supplement for us, Joe, or something has to be added?
As I understand it, Mr. Knowles, the applicant forwarded to you, or forwarded to the township earlier today by way of my office, these additional sections to be inserted into the SRMU ordinance.
Okay.
So these would be additions to what is already in front of you that the applicant is asking the township to
Okay,
consider
so I think we
including
just-
into the ordinance.
just add
So
them into
it's
the
not a
ordinance.
separate item, it's just an addendum to what you already have.
Okay, no problem, sounds good. Okay, so number 5 on the agenda, we reapproval of signing a record plan for the Bensalem Village condominiums. This is the across the street in the woods where they have subdivided a couple lots and then they donated ground to the township for open space. Does anybody have this, or?
Mr. Knowles, these plans are the same as those approved by council on August 27th of 2018, with the following exceptions or changes. 3 waivers were granted by council pertaining to drawing scale, simultaneous preliminary and final submission, and required improvements deferred till future owner. 2 plans dated August 31st and April 2nd, 2019 were added. General note number 7, revised benchmark elevation and location. General note number 19 was added pertaining to council waiver 1C above. The words land development have been replaced with the word subdivision in the township engineer's signature block. And we have signed the plans and recommended the council do the same, but because the 90-day recording period has elapsed, it would need to be reapproved before
Okay,
signing.
and the amount of ground that they're donating to the township for open
Yes,
space is still in there, right?
Over 5 acres.
5 acres, right, okay. Okay, so is there any questions or any motion to reapprove and sign a record plan?
I'll second.
Okay, all in
And
favor?
Before you call the motion,
Okay,
Mr.
I'm
Knowles, it should also, the recording of the plan should occur contemporaneous with the recording of the deed transferring the open space to the township. So at the
Okay.
same time that the property's being, this plan's being recorded, the open space deed should be recorded at the same time.
Okay, so you want to adjust your motions?
So moved.
Okay, Joe?
Second.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Vote aye.
Aye. Any against? Any abstains? Okay, so that's done. Okay. Okay, 5B is the reapproval and signing record plan for Republic Bank. Do you have this, Ron?
Yes, this was approved by council on October 9th, 2018, with the following exceptions or changes. The relocated driveway on Mechanicsville Road was moved per PennDOT requirements. Adjusted driveway on Street Road, again per PennDOT requirements, and the pork chop has been added, which encourages right in and right out. Building size decreased from 3,575 to 3,316 square feet. A small piece of sidewalk along Mechanicsville Road to the bank has been removed. We added a lot consolidation key plan, added site distance notes, listed variances and waivers, updated sign tables, driveway crosswalks were revised. The revised GC R2 boundary line has been added, and the sanitary sewer easement has been added. We again recommend that council first reapprove because the 90-day period has elapsed.
Okay, and is the attorney still here, Joe, for the Republic Bank?
I believe,
Okay, if you could come forward, I wanted to just ask you a question.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
State your name for the record.
Sure. Rob McNelly, I represent Republic Bank.
Okay. My question is, were you in contact with the neighbor that's most affected on the right with the driveway change?
I spoke with Mrs. McHale this
Okay.
evening. Mr. McHale was working. And
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to talk with him. There was some confusion about whether or not they were going to attend. I also spoke with the Chief Operating Officer of Republic Bank this afternoon in person. He's been in contact with the McHales.
Okay.
And has committed to working with them on essentially whatever they'd like done on that property line, fencing, berming, the types of plants. We talked about putting the fence on the property line versus moving it 6 or 8 feet, 10 feet into the bank's property and then landscaping on the McHale side. And the bank is still committed to doing.
Okay, and
all
they
these
understand that this is something that PennDOT required, the relocation of the driveway, right?
Yes, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
They're, I can't say they were surprised. It seemed as though Mrs. McHale thought that, they kind of thought that PennDOT may require it to be moved, but it was the first time they heard of it. But they understand it was a PennDOT decision. And I think they were here during our other meetings at the zoning hearing board and the zoning change and the approval, where we discussed the fact that we were putting that driveway where we would like it, as far away from that property, but that PennDOT, for safety concerns, is going to have the final say.
Okay.
So it wasn't a surprise in that regard.
All right, so this is a reapproval and signing of the record plan with the changes that Mr. Gant said. Is there any other questions from? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion in reference to this?
I'll put that in form of a motion, we accept it as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, second it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against?
Yes.
Okay, and 4-1, okay? And we'll, that's separate thing. Okay, so it's separate that has to be approved?
That plan prepared after you approve the plan, for purposes of tax mapping, it's counting, and
Oh, okay, okay.
there is no 90-day extension on this, so you just need to be approved and signed.
So Joe, we need to do that separate, Joe?
that's fine. And again, insofar as the new deed for the property is concerned, that should be reviewed by the engineer's office, my office, and recorded contemporaneously with the recording of the record plan.
Okay, so it does say reapproving and signing a record plan and lot consolidation plan. So do you want to adjust your motion, Ed, to include the lot consolidation? Or put a new motion?
Two separate plans.
Okay, a new motion?
Yeah, sure, if you want me to, I will be happy to do that, but I just said approval. Fine.
Okay, is there a second on the lot consolidation plan?
I'll second it as well.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Aye. Okay, and no nays. Okay, so we're good?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, you were nays, 4-1. All right.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I meant, sorry. I meant no, Okay, number 6 on the agenda is consideration of reduced permit fees regarding the annual fire inspections for the school district located at 3000 Don Allen Drive, and these are for the various schools. It's, can we do these all at once, Joe, A through D?
I believe so. The administration is processing them all as a single batch of permit applications, so I believe you can, or not permit applications, but inspection fees. So I believe you can approve the reduction in fee if you collectively decide to do so by a single motion.
Okay, and this will be a 50% reduction in fees for each of the buildings. So the A is Bensalem School District fire inspection fee, the Valley Elementary fire inspection fee, the Bus Transportation Center preliminary land development fees, and the Bus Transportation Center final land development fees, all 50% for the school district. Okay, is there any questions on this?
Yeah, there's comments on items 6B, C, and D from building and planning. Escrow fees are not subject to the waivers. So I don't think we can,
I know, I agree.
I don't think we can allow the waiver for the escrow, the
Yeah,
fees.
that's money they just had to put up, right, Joe?
Well, again, I apologize if I misunderstood your question. I thought at the moment you were dealing just with the fire inspection fees for the
So we're just doing
for the
6A.
bundle
C
of
and
buildings. So those, I believe, can all be done with a single motion. As Councilman Sloan properly points out, there are certain aspects of the permit reductions for the land alteration and subdivision and land development that are dealt with separately and apart from the fire inspection fees. So perhaps
we'll
separate
split 'em
motions
up
would
then.
make
So-
sense, so there's no confusion as there already has been.
Okay, we'll do them separate then. Okay, so is there a motion for Bensalem School District fire inspection fees at 50% and Valley Elementary School permit fees at 50%? A and B on the agenda? Is there
No,
a
I think we have
motion?
to do just A. B has the same escrow issues.
Oh,
You have several escrows in there, Joe.
and B too? I thought he said,
I'll make a motion to approve item 6A, which is the
Bensalem
50% reduction for the fire inspection fees for the various Bensalem Township schools and buildings.
I'll second it.
Hey,
okay, this is A for the school inspections at 50%, there's no escrow.
And these, so there, again, so there's no confusion. These are the fire inspection, annual fire inspection fees. They're referenced in the March 15, 2019 letter to the mayor and council from John Matthew, dated, again, March 15, 2019. Lists a variety of school district facilities. The total of the permits would be $9,170. The township is agreeing to reduce those by 50%, consistent with the way the township has handled these similar requests in the past.
Yeah, I'm sorry, so that, it was a little bit confusing there, but so now the charge for the total school for the fire inspections themselves will be $4,585, reduced 50%. So we have a motion, is there a second?
Yep, I seconded it.
Second it, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay, so we have that.
Now, item 6B is a request from the school district for a reduction in various fees associated with Valley Elementary School site improvements. Those are memorialized in a February 14, 2019 letter to the township from Carroll Engineering. The requested total of the fees to be reduced is $5,275. The township has agreed to reduce those fees by 50% to $2,637.50.
Okay, now, Mr. Sloan had
Well, we
stated that
haven't
the
agreed to
escrow from 5,000 to 2,500 is something we cannot do. Is that correct or not correct?
That escrow can be reduced at your discretion,
Yeah, we've done it in the past, I believe, but.
yes.
I don't think so.
I thought we specifically excluded escrow in the past.
You may have. Again,
It's our choice.
these are all policy decisions as to these. The escrow funds are the monies that we're requiring the school district to post to assure that the project is completed and completed in conformance with the various applicable regulations and code of the township. If you don't want to waive the $2,500, then we can have the minutes reflect that, and the math can be adjusted accordingly.
Yeah, well, the escrow funds are going to be returned as long as everything is copacetic and everything runs properly. But
Exactly.
if we need to use those funds because there's a
Something doesn't get
disparaging
done.
Okay.
problem, then we have the money there. So I think we should, I agree.
Okay, so we'll keep the escrow at $5,000. It's up to you, or it's up to the board, you know. And then, so we'll change this we'll keep the escrow at $5,000, and we'll do a 50% reduction for the application fee, the alteration of land fee,
And that's it.
and that's it. Okay, so it would be from 25 to 1250, and from 250 to 125, and then they would have to put up $5,000, which if they did everything they're supposed to, they'll get the 5,000 back. So
Basically, you
That's
could
correct.
do all these, you could do these three simultaneously
if we take out the escrows.
and take out the escrow, exactly right. It's
Okay,
done.
on the,
I'll put a motion on the floor.
okay,
That we accept these reduced permit fees on 6B, 6C, and 6D, provided that the escrow fees would be total of what is normally requested and required.
okay.
I'll second.
You got a first and then a second by Mr. Clary. Okay, all in favor of the reduction of the fees besides the escrows? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, so that's good.
And I apologize, I did not note, because it wasn't broken out in 6B as it is in 6C and 6D, that those escrows are not for the facilities themselves, but for the township's costs. Had I realized that, I would have agreed with Mr. Sloan. But unfortunately, on Form B, it wasn't broken out, only it was broken out on C and D.
Okay, we got that. Okay, consideration, number 7, consideration of public hearing of 8 resolutions authorizing the upgrading of the existing traffic signals at the following locations: Unionville Road and Park Avenue, Unionville Road in Mechanicsville, Unionville Road in Byberry, Unionville Road in Gibson, Unionville Road in Galloway, Unionville Road in Bristol Road, Unionville Road in Bensalem High School, North Driveway and Joshua Drive, and 2025 Bristol Road, Pasquone Boulevard, and Shopping Center access. Do you have this, Mr. Pizzo or Mr. Gansky?
Sure. The township, as council is aware, is engaging in a program whereby all of the township's traffic signals at various intersections throughout the township will be programmed to speak to one another. They will identify the amount of traffic that is going through the intersection or that is stacking at the intersection, and will begin to make adjustments accordingly from intersection to intersection to help improve the flow of traffic, in this case along Hume'ville Road. As Councilman Knowles indicated, all of the resolutions that are before you this evening are along Hume'ville Road, with the exception of item H, which is right off of Hume'ville Road at Bristol and Pasqualone, which is a part of that larger intersection of Hume'ville, Pasqualone, Bristol,
And the shopping center access.
and the shopping center. So all of these resolutions can be handled by a single action of the board. In all cases, as council is aware and will recall, anytime the township wants to make modifications to the traffic signals along a state highway, it requires us to submit an application for an amendment to the permit for that intersection from PennDOT. So in the packet before you this evening are the various applications for each of those intersections, together with a resolution of council authorizing the Director of Administration to sign and submit the applications to PennDOT in order to move this project forward. This project, as you will recall, has been referred to as the Green Light Go project. The township has received grant funds from the Commonwealth for this project to move forward. It's, as if I recall, it's an 80-20 matching grant, with 80% being paid by the township, 20% being paid, or 80% being paid by the state, 20% being
that's
paid
better
by the
deal.
township. And in my discussion with Mr. Samori earlier today, this project, that 20% is a part of the township's 2019 budget.
Okay. Is there any questions about this from anybody?
So the resolutions 7A through H are in a form acceptable for your consideration and approval this evening.
Okay.
I have one question. Mr. Pizzo, does this include the upgrade to several of the lights that we had discussed earlier in the year, as far as the turning arrows?
I'll discuss that.
Okay. All right. The other one.
Yeah, we've been working on that. PennDOT has gotten us preliminary approval for Galloway and Richelieu and Humeville and Galloway. We have the preliminary approval, which is great. We just got that a couple weeks ago. We're going through the process now to get the final permitting, and that we're going to hopefully get done as is, so it's not duplicated with this.
Right, yep, that makes sense.
Yep.
Great. Thank you very much.
Do we know the timeline of when these upgrades will be made? Hopefully, or somewhat realistically?
I can't give you exactly, Jesse, but it's pretty soon. As soon as this goes through and the application is, that we have the grant,
Right.
they're going to commit. Do you know anything on it, on a
Just
time?
ballpark timeframe.
It's going to be pretty soon. I
Okay.
mean, I expect this summer.
Once
Oh,
the-
okay.
Once we have the permits in hand, we'll
Yeah.
then be in a position to put the work out
Okay.
to be done, but not before.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone make, it seems like a good thing. I mean, if the traffic lights are timed better and talk to each other and understand traffic patterns, it'll certainly help.
I'll make the motion we approve as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second by Mr. Takmajian. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any nays? Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay, consideration of number 8 on the agenda, consideration of lot line consolidation for Roger E. Chateau, I guess, 4512 and 4530 Summit Lane. Do you have this, Mr. Rapizzo?
Properties.
Okay, can you just introduce yourself and then,
My name is Roger Chateau. Hello, folks. We have properties in Bensalem on Bristol Road, opposite the Chamonix Mall.
right,
And basically, my mother passed away, but before she died, she said, hey, could you move this over? And so I'm the executor for that property, and I own the other property, so just moving the 15 feet over so the properties will be pretty much equal.
So this isn't a lot line consolidation, it's just a lot line change?
It's really, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't affect the people on other 4 parts. I sent them the notifications that I'm supposed to.
Is that the only reason, just to divide the property so this way the lot size is the same?
Well, it's access to the back, she said, from the ones, between the garages, you can only go on one side, but on the other property, you can go all the way around, to get to the backyard if you have to drive equipment back there, stuff like that.
so it just gives them one more room between the garage and the
Exactly.
property line.
Is there a deck there that's in the middle there that?
Oh, that little thing, yeah, I mean, it can go. It's just laying on top of it. It was just,
Okay.
yeah, it can go. I mean, it's there, but it hasn't been used in a while, but.
Okay. Just recognizing the fact that if you move that line over, that you're picking up that piece, and, if you were to sell that piece of
Oh, yeah.
that parcel, it could be an issue.
Well, I own that part now.
Right,
that's
yeah.
all, yeah.
Mr. President, I can say that.
Yeah, Ron.
The revised plans came in April 1st, and I can say that on our review of February 25th, 2019, Section D, Chapter 201, lot line change, all 5 of those issues have been addressed.
Okay, so they're all will complies?
They have complied. I do have one item that I'd like to add. Note 3 indicates iron pins for the corners. These must be concrete monuments instead of iron pins. And that note should be changed accordingly.
Okay, so you need concrete pins as
No,
opposed to
concrete monuments
monuments, okay.
instead of pins.
Okay, concrete monuments instead of pins.
Is there specifications for those? I'll just look for those up
Your
later.
surveyor will know.
Survey would do it. Okay, if there's not any other questions, anybody have a motion? It's just a simple lot line change between property owners.
I'll make the motion that we approve the lot line changes submitted for tax parcels 218-167 and 218-181, will comply under Section D for items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, with also the requirement of concrete monuments.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Come up with your extra 6,000 square foot.
No, it gives them the option.
Sorry.
Is this yours?
Council meeting, consideration of a public hearing on ordinance amending.
Okay, next on the agenda, number 9. Consideration of public hearing on an ordinance amending the Township zoning ordinance, Chapter 232 of the Township Code to create Article 6, Division 7, SRMU Street Road Mixed Use Overlay District. And then we have number 10 is affiliated with it, Joe, right? So we can consider both at the same,
No.
Yes.
we can vote on them separately.
Items 9 and 10, for purposes of the public hearing,
Discussion, yeah.
should be considered to be a combined hearing to the extent that a significant amount of the testimony that you will hear in regard to the proposal to create the new zoning district may also be applicable to this applicant's request that the township then consider rezoning the property commonly referred to as the Armstrong Middle School property to the new SRMU zoning district, should council decide to create that new district tonight. There will be the need for separate votes,
Separate votes, yeah, I understand.
but again, for purposes of the record, both items should be considered to be heard by council contemporaneously. The record should also reflect that this item had been originally advertised to take place at the council meeting of, whatever your last meeting in March was, I apologize.
28th?
March 20, or no, I'm sorry, it was in
25th.
front of the Planning Commission on March 20. It was to be heard by council on March 25th. At the request of the applicant, it was announced that evening that both the creation of the new zoning district by way of the new ordinance, as well as the potential rezoning of the property, were both being tabled and rescheduled to a date certain of this evening. So both ordinances have been properly advertised. The property has been posted, again, in all cases for the meeting of the 25th, which by your action on the 25th was tabled forward to tonight. We've been provided copies of the notice to adjacent property owners that were provided by the applicant to the Planning Commission at its meeting of March 20. They're now in the possession of Ms. Gallagher for this evening's meeting, and they do appear to be in order.
Okay, and we can add this ordinance addendum that was given to us at the start of the meeting.
Well, that's going to be a question that we'll have to deal with at the time the hearing is concluded. To the extent that the applicant has asked the council to consider including changes to the ordinance since the time it was advertised, ultimately the nature and scope of those changes may dictate whether council is able to act on the ordinance tonight, or whether it's going to require a re-advertisement and a subsequent review by the Planning Commission, both at the county and township level. But I think we may be a little premature in making that determination, simply because the applicant has asked you to consider further changes to the ordinance doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to. So unless and until we get to that point, we might as well proceed with the hearing this evening, and then once everything's been discussed, if the changes are of such a nature that we need to consider tabling the action for further revision to the ordinance, you could make that determination at that time.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
packet, I should note, includes the original ordinance as it was originally advertised, a red line version of the ordinance that has some changes that were proposed by the applicant as of last Thursday, and the additional changes that the applicant has put in, that are at your seats this evening when you sat down. So there are two sets of changes to the ordinance that you'll be discussing this evening, in addition to the original form of the ordinance itself.
Yeah, I read the red line ones today. The
We
one
do
mark
not have the original in here. We only have the red line version.
with the red line and the clear
Oh,
version.
okay,
of
well,
it.
the red line is the
It's
original
sufficient
with the
With changes,
the red
yeah,
line
okay.
changes.
So then there's a clear copy with, this way we could see what changes were made to the original. That's why it's red line. Okay. Okay, do you want to introduce yourself?
I do. Good evening. I'm Ed Murphy. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. With me tonight is multiple representatives of the applicant, including Mr. Pico, who is the project manager, and Adam and I were the ones that were the principal presenters when we met most recently with your planning commission last month. Mr. Pandy is also present, as is Jay Katsouris, who is the project engineer from Carroll Engineering. As Mr. Pizzo said, this action was originally submitted officially to the township last December, and that took the form of a petition to modify your zoning ordinance to create a new district called the Street Road Mixed Use Overlay District. That original petition was accompanied by a draft ordinance, again, to which Mr. Pizzo referred, in which you have the original copy. Prior to that date, as I think council is well aware, there were numerous conversations between the applicant and the township staff, and there were many iterations of the plan that ultimately was attached to and made a part of the original petition from last December. But as Mr. Pizzo indicated, there have been multiple suggested revisions to the ordinance since December, in large measure fueled by comments we received from the staff and Township Planning Commission as recently as last month. So the red line version of the ordinance that Mr. Pizzo referred to that you were distributed last Thursday, again, highlights the changes that we've made to the plan. And I think in every respect, they involve changes to reduce the scope and intensity of the development, which was the principal comment and concern expressed by the Bucks County Planning Commission when they reviewed the plan, as well as your members of your Planning Commission last month. The other changes that, again, Mr. Pizzo referred to that you saw today was designed to further tweak the actual language in the ordinance to try, again, at the request of your Planning Commission, to try to establish more of a town center feel to the project as opposed to a more traditional strip center or mixed-use development that would be more commonly seen. So the goal of the changes this morning were to create a large unbroken town center area, reduce the size of any individual parking field, to establish an opportunity, since the township doesn't have one, to, if there would be a hotel, that it would be required that a minimum of a 15,000 square foot convention area or meeting space be created that would be part of that hotel. So again, trying to respond to all the different comments that we've received over the past 4 months or so since the official petition was submitted last December. So as Mr. Pizzo indicated, we're here tonight based on the re-advertisement for tonight to consider the ordinance. Our view of the changes is that all those changes reduce the scope and intensity of the project, not increase it, and thus, standing alone, we don't think there would be the need to re-advertise, but as Joe said, as the conversation this evening proceeds, we can talk about it. If you'd like, Adam can sort of run through the overall theme or intention for how we laid out the plan and some of the significant design elements that gave rise to the plan and the way it was created. But The principal, before Adam starts, the principal design element of the plan is to create the interconnection from Humeville across the site so that there is a clear demarcation between the residential area of the site and the more commercial area to the site that would front along Street Road. The way the plan is set up, 75% of the site would be devoted to non-residential uses and 25%, that piece to the rear on the other side of the interconnecting road, would be devoted to residential uses. On the plan contemplates both a mix of condominiums and townhomes. The retail area or the non-residential area, Adam can sort of review the scope of the different retail or non-residential uses that we're contemplating as part of this mixed-use overlay. So, Adam, if you want to sort of overview, and then we'll talk about how the scope or the intensity of the non-residential area has been fairly dramatically reduced even since we were at the Planning Commission last month.
What's that? Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for taking time out to hear us out.
Is it on, Ron? Doesn't look like it.
Hello? Hello? Okay. All right.
Speak into the mic.
All right.
That's better.
Like I said, thank you guys for taking your time out tonight to listen to us. Most of you have already seen this plan. We've been working with you guys for well over a year, and with this concept. Like Ed Murphy was discussing, I'm just going to go over some design elements. There was 2 initiatives that we were working with the township prior to even last year. One was to alleviate current traffic and to also alleviate traffic that we were going to add on Street Road by a development. We've heard a lot of concerns about additional traffic that this community would create, and we all understand that anything that's developed here is going to create additional, unless it was a preserve or something that was very, very low in density, that there's really, no matter what the uses are, it's a 33-acre parcel. So with that, we've listened to the township. We did our part. We purchased additional land to create this road that would go to Humeville Road. A lot of people have concerns about traffic, and like we said in the planning, like we've told everyone here, we would listen to PennDOT. Both Humeville and Street Road are PennDOT roads, and we're going to have to abide by anything they say to help whatever we do, whether that's traffic lights, whether that's increasing lanes. It's going to be up to us to do that if we want to fulfill our obligation to build this, because that's going to be part of our planning. That was one of the things I just wanted to discuss. The second thing is that the initiative was to do something different. You guys were aware that right now the retail that's on Street Road is very conventional. Shopping centers, a lot of parking lots, nothing in between, very old, dilapidated centers. And you guys wanted a chance with this last remaining parcel of 30 acres or something that's this large to do something special and to bring something different. With that being said, we retained a highly regarded land use planner, James Parisi, who at the last your last zoning officer recommended, as he's an expert in these type of developments. We brought him along. He created a site that looks nothing like this. It was killed by death by 1,000 cuts. We tried to listen as well as we could. We've been amendable, but changing little things here and there, 1,000 of those little changes, we ended up looking at it, and we all had a 2-2-1, and we said, this is no longer what we want. This looks terrible. Go back to the drawing board, guys. We're willing to do that because our real goal is to bring something that you guys wanted to bring, which was that town center, which was something new. This concept has that. What we try to do is we try to create quadrant parking. As you see in the Coles property over here, there's one large parking field. And that, when it's not filled, it looks terrible. And if it is filled, it still looks terrible. That's just the old way of doing things, and you guys did not want to see that. What we try to do is we try to create a quadrant parking system, which was 4 fields, surrounded by buildings, retail, or the boundary of the property. This helps lock in that there's buildings within. We've also done a lot of walkways. So if you see this walkway also is going to connect back here. It was another initiative was for us to create walkways so that there was no one had to walk on the pavement. That, as you can see, if you followed this through, if you come up and take a look, and wherever you're at, you can get to any part of this site without having to cross pavement on a crosswalk. So that was another initiative we listened to. Excuse me. Lastly, we created this public gathering space in the middle here. We have 4 ways facing retail. That's all to encapsulate that public area in the center. This is, again, part of having a town center. Now, in order to accommodate this, all these type of things, we obviously requested a little bit larger densities because part of the character of these town centers is livelihood, is a bunch of people there, is a lot of people walking around, shopping, eating, going, getting their groceries, living. That's kind of what we have here. Since the last time we talked to you guys, we've cut about 60,000 square feet from this. If you're looking at, it's not so easy to see, but the way you cut it down is by increasing parking ratios and lowering impervious space. Because that's the way you cut the square footage. Because in order to comply with those two, you have to have less space. So that's what we did. If you were to look at these last floor plans, there was 2, 3 floors on building C, B, J. All of them were cut down to 1 story. We did that in order to lower the density and lower the amount of traffic and the amount of just volume that this community had. Going to the residential piece, since last week, since listening to the Planning Commission, we've decided that this is all going to be a townhome community. So this will be redesigned. The multi-condo units are going to go away, which will also lower traffic. One of the things I wanted to show by having 2 plans, they're almost identical. If you were to look at them, you would really not be able to see much unless you change. One is the hotel piece, and one is a retail with 3 stores of office above it. The way I wanted to show you that is because we had our engineers take a look at which one would actually add more traffic. And an 80,000 square foot office building would actually create more daily volume traffic than the hotel. So that was one thing that, is a little counterintuitive, but we wanted to do that study because we wanted to make sure we weren't doing any more harm. We didn't want to take out retail or take out more space and add more traffic by a different type of use. The reason we're requesting different types of uses, and there's a lot of different various uses on there, is to give ourselves the flexibility to create a successful project. One of the things, we don't want to be pigeoned into creating something that's only halfway built and waiting for tenants. We want to be able to move with the market, see what's out there, and place the tenants who want to be there. We've also talked about getting different types of tenants than you have. One of the ways to get those different types of tenants is to bait the hook a little bit differently. Some of the brands that we were trying to get, the Trader Joe's, the Starbucks, the different brands that aren't here, it doesn't match their current brand. They don't want to be in a dilapidated center. It's just not going to match. So they're looking for, in order to get those type of tenants, you have to build something that has different types of facades, different types of entryways, larger sidewalks. So that is, we were, again, in favor of that as well, because we're willing to take that shot on Bensalem and try to build something that's a little bit nicer, that's a little bit out of the box in order to try to attract those people. And, we don't have those leases in place now. So we're taking a risk because we're locking ourselves in to trying to create something that's obviously not as conformed to what you currently have. And so that's kind of what if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I'll make a statement first. You're talking about getting a nice building, a nice shopping center. They will come. They won't come because we don't have the income, the moderate to above income. And I know we've discussed this. They're not coming. Costco's not coming. Trader Joe's isn't coming. None of these companies are going to come here because we don't have the income that needs to be done. Otherwise, you would have them based in this center. What are the actual uses that you actually have right now?
In these plans right here, we have an entertainment space that's for a trampoline park. We have a Spring Hill Suites. We have a Wawa gas station or a Royal Farms, but we have a we have a bank pad, we have a restaurant pad, we have a higher-end restaurant pad, we have a grocery anchor.
And
we
who are
have-
they? Who are they?
No one's currently signed up at the
Right,
moment.
so you have none of these, but you're leaving it open by putting everything under the sun into your thing so that you have the room to move around to get it done. So you don't have anybody locked into anything here except maybe the trampoline place. What are you giving me there that's any different than what we have in Bensalem right now? What are you offering?
I don't believe that currently, hold on, Jay.
I'm asking the question of the gentleman, sir.
I don't think currently of anything that has this type of architectural or the facades.
I don't care about the architectural end. What business, what are you doing within that center that's any different than what we already have in the township? You're giving nothing. You're giving a Royal Farms gas station. You're giving a trampoline building. I understand maybe one of those, you shoot the laser tag places and things like that. It's no different than what we have in the township. So you're not offering us any upgrade with the size of the center that you're asking. And we don't need another hotel. And I've made that clear since day one.
I understand. One of the reasons we do not have leases locked in is because until we have approvals or until we can commit to these tenants that this plan is ready to go, no one's investing money in drafting leases and going over that. So until we have a plan, a lot of people are scared to go into leases.
But I did tell you from day one that hotel doesn't work. We have more hotels in this township per capita than anybody in the lower end of Bucks County, in the middle Bucks County, anywhere else. Probably coming pretty close to what they have in a lot of the city. We don't need more. It's just not the right place to have a hotel.
I have a third-party study from CB Richard Ellis. If you would like to see it, it shows that there is room for more hotels.
I'm telling you, I definitely don't want to see another hotel in this township. We don't need another hotel. It's more traffic. Street Road's already congested. Unionville Road's already congested. Everything that you're putting in here is going to congest these, and public safety is the most important thing that we have in this township right now.
Okay, Jay, if you want to introduce yourself and say something.
Hi, my name is Jay Pandya. I am the principal owner of this project. So I would like to clarify a few things for the councilman in detail about a few other things which we are looking to bring in. When we mentioned a trampoline park, we have approached a company called Urban Air. They are not in Bensalem right now, and I don't think there's anything to that effect in Bensalem.
They're dangerous, though, too. I mean,
I'm sorry?
There was just a thing on the news that people are getting hurt and they're suing them for kids getting hurt at trampoline parks. It was just on the news on Sunday. They're dangerous, I think. I think they're dangerous personally. Adults jump on them and kids go flying the other way. I mean, that's what happens in them. But, kids get crippled, kids get hurt, so that's just...
I think it's not just a trampoline park like Altitude. It's a mixture of a lot of different things with zip lining and a lot more things in detail. I don't think there's even laser tag in it. There is a Urban Air currently in East Norriton, and there's another one in Villa Grove, and one in King of Prussia just coming up.
Again, Jay, how does that upgrade Bensalem Township? How does that do anything positive? We've talked many times about having Wegmans, having Costco, having Trader Joe's, having things that upgrade Bensalem Township and bring us to that next level that is, and it brings us from that low to moderate income to moderate income and above. Nothing of what you're showing on this plan does that.
Well, if you guys know, this project this October will be 3 years for this project. So in 3 years, all we have done is listen to council, every one of the members, and we have tweaked the project based upon the council's advice.
So you're saying council said to put a hotel there?
Council, my last comments with the council was if there was a convention center which is different to the hotel, we would be interested. And with that, we had approached Spring Hill Suites, the Marriott company by itself, and we have added a corridor which connects to it, and that will bring it up to a convention center, which is about 18,000 square feet.
And the convention center brings more traffic. So, I mean, everything that you're doing on the site is going to exacerbate the problems that we have in the township. Unionville Road, Knights Road, Mechanicsville Road, 3 of the worst intersections probably in the state of Pennsylvania. And we're going to quadruple, maybe 10 times the amount of traffic just in those 3 intersections with this project.
Well, I remember, Council, you had approached me about 2-3 years back, and you had told me that you knew somebody with the Costco, and for me to approach them with it.
I told you, they said the Costco wouldn't come here because we don't have the income for them to come here.
We currently we have been speaking with Sprouts, which is a grocery anchor. We have been speaking with Sam's Club 360, Sam's Club, their newest prototype. We've been speaking with Whole Foods 365. So there is a lot of people that we have been speaking to, but since for the last 3 years, we've been really going at it. We really cannot have commitments from any of the tenants because we really don't have a plan approved. So we are really tweaking projects and making changes on these plans constantly.
But that's why you're coming in for a zoning change with everything under the sun that's allowed in this township, in that zoning ordinance, so that you can make changes. If you can't get something, you can put something else in. If you can't get this what you wanted, you can throw in. Right now, you have an Arby's, you have a PDQ, you have a trampoline company. There's nothing that gives...
So if you'd like me to walk you through the whole thing, I'm be more than happy to. Over here, we are looking at Royal Farms or Wawa or any other...
And we need another mega gas station on Street Road. So, I mean, again...
It's a part of a mixed-use project.
You're bringing things in that don't benefit Pennsylvania. And this is only, in Bensalem, it's just my opinion, mind you, but that's what my opinion is. And I live in a Street Road corridor. I have to travel that corridor. And when it takes me 10 to 15 minutes to get from my house by Fisher's out to Mechanicsville Road, that's an issue. You add this to it, and it's going to just exacerbate it. It's going to be worse. What about the public safety? What about the people I was against the Republic Bank for the same reason. It's just too much in that corridor.
I think listening to everybody's comments, and of course, public safety is the most important concern. I think we have listened to every one of the professionals, and including PennDOT, as to what is needed, and we will do accordingly what is required.
Here's the problem I had, Jay. Here's what I look at. I look at this, and you just stated, you've been with us proposing is 3 years of activity trying to put this together. And at this point, after 3 years, you're asking for a zoning change, and there's no tangible plan that you have in place for us. And if we were to change the zoning based on the ordinance that we're looking at, it gives you a lot of flexibility to change anything that you want or many things you want. You have, for example, you said tonight, you said you're going to change the homes to townhomes. But in the ordinance, it says you can go up to 14 homes per acre, which is usually about 4 per 6 per acre for townhomes. And then the provision of going to 17 homes for, I don't know what the reason was, but if you decided for some reason you want to go to 17 homes. So that type of flexibility is good in the initial stages, but at this point, I don't see anything tangible that you're bringing to us that says, this is my plan of action, this is what I'm doing. You have a lot of everything. You had 10 pounds of information in a 1 pound bag, and now you're down to 9 pounds, basically, or maybe 8 pounds of stuff. But it's still too much for this specific area, I believe, and yet there's nothing tangible that you're saying to me, this is what we would like to do. I mean, I just see...
Well, regarding the residential portion, from the last meeting which we had from last week, we had condominium buildings here. So just so that we could comply with everything, we actually took the whole condominiums off completely, and we are making it a townhouse community.
Yeah, but I'm saying the zoning, the ordinance we have in front of us, you're saying one thing, but the ordinance says something else. It gives you the flexibility, or anyone else who has that property, if we pass the zoning, to go up to 16 to 17 homes per acre, and you're using the acreage of the entire, I think, of the entire property to justify the acreage of the residential part of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the reason for that is, as Adam said previously, is designed to be able to attract those users and interests that until there is an ordinance in place, it's very difficult to attract any of those users to this spot without having some confidence to say, if you come, we have an ordinance in place to do it. That's why we tried to create some amount of flexibility to give Jay and his staff the opportunity to attract those types of users that everybody would prefer to have.
But again, you're not going to get them because we're not in that income area.
Well, that's what you believe.
No, it's not what I believe, it's what the
Jay's
government.
experience says different.
Well, I'm in the business,
I am
financial
well
business.
aware you're in the
And I
business.
know what the government says that we're at. We're a low to moderate income. More to the lower end than moderate income. None of these
So
big
are you
stores
suggesting that we should not look for higher-end tenants and we should
No, but Jay,
lower the model
You
now?
can look for them, but
Jay,
they're
when
not
you-
going to come.
When you first came in, okay, you told me that you had Ruth Chris, a steakhouse. I went around telling people that we're getting a Ruth Chris. And then the last meeting I had with you said, no, I can't get Ruth Chris, I'm gonna put Arby's there.
So
So that's what you told me.
I had
You
a
went from
discussion.
Arby's to Ruth Chris.
So I had a discussion with Marsha Brown. We had it for a very long time. She is very much interested even into the project till as of now. But without a firm commitment, I could not end up approaching her in any way.
Okay, so here's the thing.
There
too.
is no Arby's
Okay,
approved at all.
You
So
don't,
I
you
don't.
don't, you don't, you don't have a, if you had a thumb drive, we could put it up on here for the people to see, but they're gonna have to come up and see it. But, you went on residential parking, okay? You're giving the impression, you're leaving the impression, for 3 years, you've been bending over backwards to make us happier and happier, okay? So the residential part, you went from 2 parking spots per unit to 2.8, and it's supposed to be 3.5. It's supposed to be, our ordinance says 3.5 for every townhouse. You were at 2, and then you went to 2.8. So we're supposed to say, we appreciate you going to 2.8, but you're still far off. You went from 3 units per 1,000 square foot of non-residential use to 3.7. Okay, it's supposed to be 5 or 6. So you're still way, your traffic, your impervious surface, it's supposed to be 60%. You went from 80 to 70. It's supposed to be 50% non-residential. You went from 0.75 to 78, or 78 to 75. So
I respectfully
you give me the
agree
impression
with
you're
that,
making
but
all
I
these
think it's
sacrifices, but you're still way off on the density.
But I think if you have to look at it, this is a complete new thing which we are looking to develop here in Bensalem. It really a town center feel. So it's a lot different than what we actually have in Bensalem right now.
If we give this to you, we have to give it to every other developer that comes in this town. You let them do 78% impervious, why can't we have it? We want 78, we want 80, we want 85 impervious surface. That's not what our laws say, that's not what our rules say. We change them for you, we have to change them for everybody under the sun that comes in.
See, the problem is that if you're suggesting to us that instead of 70%, you would like, or instead of 80%, you would like 70%. That within itself is substantial, and we can understand that. But then you ask for another exception for something else for the parking, or ask for another exception for the type of buildings and for the density, and you have about 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 different exceptions, putting them all together in this pot. It just doesn't gel. If it was just one thing you're asking for, impervious surface, to increase that or something like that, we could say, okay, well, we can grant that, we can think about it. But one thing leads to another, the parking that Joe had said, the density, again, using the entire site of 30 acres and say, well, and it's 14 to 16 to 17 homes per acre, you should just be using that little area, the 5 acres that it is, or 6 or 7 acres to be used accordingly.
Okay, come up to the mic if you're gonna speak, you can't speak.
It is what it is? Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's lines that designate where residential is and where's commercial.
But that is what it is.
No, but that.
No, he's
yeah,
saying the
No,
the
he's not
area
using
defined
30
I understand
acres.
you're not mixing residential, but the point is, our residential townhouse, which we held other people's feet to the fire on, okay, is 3.5 parking spaces, okay? You went from 2 to 2.75, and you're acting like, oh my, I did everything they asked, I can't believe this, I'm tortured for 3 years. You're only going from you're 2.8 instead of 3.5. You went from 2 to 2.8. It's supposed to be 3.5. Can you get the townhouses to 3.5?
Yes. we
Not
can-
counting the garages?
Yes.
We will.
Okay, well, why didn't you do it then? You know what the ordinance is.
Since last Friday, since we had this discussion, we were not able to make all the changes required on the plans as much as we could. We have done it, and we will comply to the residential as well, too.
Now, on the commercial density, I was reading through this, and it says that you have this bonus system, which is really hard to understand, actually. You have to really read it, okay? But the county, the Bucks County review, they said a lot of the things you get bonuses for are things that you're going to have to do anyway. Like you're getting bonus density for doing things to a develop, making the development nice, or putting in a couple of red lights, you get bonuses to make it more dense. And your flexibility on what you can put really concerns me. So you could put a hotel, you could put an office, it can be, it's 5 stories, they said it's 5 stories high. There's just, you can do anything. If you get this zoning, you know, I'd like to say I can trust you, you know, that you would do what's right, but you can do anything. You can put a trampoline place, you can put a gym, you can put a movie theater, you can put a hotel, you can put a gas station, you can put any percentage of those things.
But that is really the goal, to really make it a town center feel where you have eat, play, work, and
Yeah,
do
but
everything.
my concern is if you can't get these high-end people that you say you can get, I do think it's based on income in the surrounding area that they come by.
I agree, but I think if we approve this plan, we can possibly get to work very quickly and
I
get
know,
it
but
done.
they don't come because, wow, this is a really nice building, I'm gonna come here. They come because the surrounding area has an average income that supports that establishment.
I had Starbucks approved here. I have an
Well, we
LOI
have
from Starbucks. but I
Starbucks,
cannot-
okay.
but I cannot entertain any tenants right now, and because what would I be going and telling them that this is a project which is approved? Because for the past several years, I've just been approaching different tenants, but really have not been able to finalize with anybody because we don't have anything finalized.
All right, well, you mentioned that you're willing, you've been willing to work with the township and adjust the plan. So let's kind of go through the ordinance, because while the concept is nice, that's your intention, the ordinance is what we have in front of us that we have to address. And I think everyone's concerned that it allows so much to the point where we don't have the assurances that you're going to kind of, deliver what you want to deliver. For instance, you've already said tonight that you're getting rid of the condos. So, just in the first section of the ordinance, we would eliminate, I think flat out, this item B, multiple dwellings including but not limited to townhouse over townhouse, townhouse over flat, etc. So that would be out. It sounds like you're willing to propose a version of this without a hotel, so we would eliminate the hotel. Whether it's got a convention center or not, I think the consensus is that the township doesn't want another hotel along Street Road. Are you willing to go through this to actually make the changes, or are we stuck with the version that's presented to us tonight? You just mentioned that you're going to change it up to 3.5 parking spaces per townhouse. So that's another change that we have to go through and check. With all the changes, do you need these density bonuses at all? And what's the new calculated residential density based on the new, if you take out the condos and put in the townhomes, what's the end result for the density?
It will lower down substantially, and we will meet the criteria required by you guys.
So I guess my concern is that what we have in front of us isn't what you're communicating to us, and that's our biggest challenge right now.
I think the residential portion, since has been mentioned with the required parking spots, we were not able to make those changes that quickly in the last few days, but we are ready.
Jay, you've had this for 3 years. Is there a traffic study based on your perception of what you want to put in there?
We had been working with traffic planning and design.
Yeah, but there's no traffic study, okay?
Joe?
There is no formal traffic study. It's in the works, but there is not one that's
Okay, well,
published and ready to be
you've been doing this for
adopted.
3 years. You've been saying you've been laboring. for
Typically,
3
those traffic impact studies
not
are
even a
prepared as
preliminary.
part of the land development process, which we haven't got to
I
since we
understand.
don't have an
I
underlying
understand.
ordinance.
We need to know, because I've been told by our traffic person who I called, and he said that this is way over the allowable traffic that you are supposed to have here. He said 3 or 4 times as much as you're supposed to be able to have. That's what Phil Worsta told me. Now, is he incorrect? I don't know.
My name's John Katsouris. I'm with Carroll Engineering. Just to touch base on that, we can't perform traffic studies until we know the uses of the buildings in there. You can't just say,
Well, that's our job. We can't approve things unless we know the uses of the building too. That's the whole point. You don't know how much traffic there's going to be because you don't know what's going to be there, and we don't know what's going to be there. And I think the fact that we've been meeting with you and meeting with you and meeting, we're bending over backwards to try to make this for the school district sold the property and everybody wants the school district of money, but we don't have no idea what you're putting in there after 3 years. And you have so much flexibility. You could put a giant 300,000 square foot retail in there, couldn't you?
I could not. I think
Well, why couldn't you? According to the ordinance, you could.
I'm okay with you guys even restricting the uses and everything, whatever you guys see on the plans.
Why don't we have an engineered plan? Something setting it down a little more in stone as to what you're going to put there. Because every time I see, I was not available last week, but every time I see a sketch plan, the sketch plan is different, or you have 5 different sketch plans, 7 different sketch plans. Why can't we get to the point where we have one sketch plan, or when we have one engineered plan, so we have more of an idea of exactly what you're looking to do? What you're doing is giving you carte blanche to do whatever you want to do, so you can make the most money in this complex with the people you can get to come here.
Mr. Pillar, if you remember 3 years ago, when I approached this, I was told by the township that the township wants to do an overlay plan, not just for this project, but it started from Huonville Road all the way down to Knights Road.
And it's not even close to what you have here. There's one in the works, and it doesn't give you the densities and the things that you want.
Actually, if you look at the things before, it had buildings all around it with high-rise buildings all facing Street Road. That was the original plan which the township engineer, Matt, had drawn up. We'd be more than happy to forward that plans to you to show it. It had buildings all the way on Street Road at 3 to 4 stories high. That was the original plan submitted by the township. And since that time, we had been working with the township in making changes. Should we had known that we needed to have uses and something to that effect, then we would have probably approached the plan differently 3 years ago.
I told you 3 years ago I was against the hotel, and I would not consider the plan as a positive if there was a hotel. What's on your plan?
I had been told by other people as if there's a convention center is not an approved, it's not there in
I don't
Bensalem.
think that, not all due respect, I don't think that hotel that you're putting there, there's one up by Sesame Place that people sleep at to go to Sesame Place. That's not the high-end hotel we were talking. We said, in talking to you, we said, listen, maybe we'll think about it if you put a high-end, because you were saying a high-end, top-of-the-line hotel with a convention center, not a Hampton Inn with a room for people to meet. That's not what we were talking about.
So I don't know what's a, if
What
you
is
can help.
Springfield Suites is up by the Oxford Valley Mall. People stay there for Sesame Place.
The hotel which we are proposing to build in Bensalem is the best hotel which would be in Bensalem. It's a Marriott flag. It's one of their highest rated product. It's a Spring Hill hotel and suites with a convention center is what we are proposing.
Well, you just added a convention center tonight.
That is correct.
And what I understand is you don't have Marriott locked down. There's somebody else in Bensalem that has the agreement with them for anything that they do in this township. So we can't be assured of that either.
That is incorrect. I have an agreement with Marriott. It's just not signed.
So you don't have an agreement. You can't have an agreement if it's not signed.
Well, I can't sign it because I can't put this hotel up.
Right.
If
Jay,
I'm approved, then I can absolutely sign the document.
Jay, I first heard that your deal with the school district buying this property, there was no contingencies. No contingencies you were buying this property. But your contingency is that we change the zoning and allow you to do anything you want in any combination almost, whoever you want to put in there, or we're not cooperating or something.
That is not correct because we listened to every single aspect. Adding this additional road was a requirement by council that
It wasn't a requirement by council. No, that was not a requirement.
we were told very clearly this project
The
would not get
traffic people
approved.
said that if you're going to put that much stuff in there, that you can't have only an exit on Street Road. That's what we were told. I didn't know where you're putting an exit, but we were told that preliminary traffic people who looked at it for us said it's too much density for letting out on Street Road. He has to have another exit somehow. So, you can't put too much, you have to have a way of getting in and out if you're putting that much stuff. That's, that was that.
Public safety.
I think the difference, maybe you were told, or maybe you weren't told, that if you had a hotel with a convention center in it, that would be more appealing. 15,000 square foot room, to me, is not a convention center with a hotel. If it was a hotel that emphasized a convention center where people could come in and use it for that, that's a meeting room, that's a banquet room. How big is this place? This is 15,000 square foot here, I'd imagine. 150 by 100, 150 foot by 100 foot is 15,000 square foot. That's the room you're talking about.
I have a question. Mr. Polari brought up the township overlay, Mr. Pizzo, and I brought this up the last meeting. Can you give us an idea as far as where that's at? When did it start? And wouldn't it make sense that we had that in place prior to any developer coming in here and trying to make up their own terms of this project versus us putting in this overlay?
The township undertook a preparation of an overlay that would cover the Street Road corridor from Humeville Road up to about Mechanicsville Road several years ago. I want to say it was before this project came in, and at about the time the school district first said that they were putting the Armstrong property on the market for sale. The township was looking at the possibility that the Armstrong property would be sold to someone who might want to develop it for a retail purpose. And since it is such a large piece of property, and since it is more or less right in the heart of Street Road and right in the heart of town, the township began the process of developing the overlay. An overlay is, as its name suggests, a zoning mechanism whereby the township would not change the underlying zoning of any particular property on Street Road, but would create a mechanism whereby a property owner or a group of property owners working together might be able to utilize the overlay over top of their property and over top of their existing zoning to develop the property consistent with the overlay vision. The township has overlays in place, some of which are not unique to any particular area of the township, but rather deal with specific underlying zoning districts, such as the CCRD, the continuing care overlay, or the special citizens housing overlay, which provide for the development of a particular kind of use anywhere in the township, provided the underlying zoning allows for that. The township also has overlays, probably the largest and most ambitious of which is the riverfront overlay, which provides for a plan of development for the properties along the river, consistent with the town's vision for a redevelopment of that previously industrial, and in some cases still currently industrial property, over to a mix of housing and some commercial, some housing, high tech, those sorts of uses. The ordinance that has been submitted to the township in December for this property is, I believe, as the developer stated, something of an outgrowth of discussions over the course of several years. The original plan trying to make what the developer envisioned for this property consistent with what the township envisioned for the street road corridor. And somewhere along the process, those two roads diverged. Because what the developer was looking for the Armstrong property was significantly more intense, for lack of a better adjective, than what the township envisioned for the street road corridor overlay. And so the developer went about creating the zoning ordinance that's in front of you this evening specific for the Armstrong property. The name of the ordinance, and it's one of the things that we need to deal with this evening, is the Street Road Mixed Use Overlay District. Well, in fact, what's being proposed to you is not an overlay. What's being proposed to you this evening is a new zoning district. This is not designed to be used for other existing properties within the township as an overlay over their existing zoning. This is a new zoning district that would be unique, at least for the moment, to the Armstrong property. But as is true of any zoning district you create, any property that might satisfy the conditions of this ordinance, frontage along Street Road, a certain minimum acreage, any other properties along Street Road that meet that criteria could theoretically be rezoned to this district as well. So this isn't an overlay. This, what you're being, even though it's in the name, what you're being asked to approve tonight is the creation of a new zoning district, the Street Road Mixed Use District. And the first property in the township conceivably that would be rezoned to this new district would be the Armstrong property itself.
I would add to that, I believe the reason that we haven't basically developed the street road corridor is because we're actually waiting to see how this development is going to present itself. If we were to put the overlay or the street road district itself from Mechanicsville all the way down, and then we had, if this property were fallow, that would be one thing. But this is actively being pursued by the developer here, and we're waiting to see what he's offering so we can incorporate it in the street road thing. But so far, we don't seem to be coming to an agreement.
I think if you look at the original overlay, I talked to Phil Worser, who's our traffic engineer. I thought I had printed it out, but and he advised me that the hub at Bensalem is way over density-wise, traffic-wise, parking deficiencies of what the overlay, the overall overlay that we were planning for Unionville to Knights Road. So I don't think that overlay, if it was in its full existence, would help this developer. That would be, he has to have a special ordinance here, or because he's not going to meet any of the standards that were set up by not only the comprehensive plan, but the talk that have gone on about the overlay for that district. So he's way.
You're correct. The most recent version of the street road overlay that the township was and is working on, this plan could not be developed under that ordinance.
And where do we stand with that overlay?
As Councilman Kisselback properly stated, we had moved to the point where we were ready to advertise the ordinance. It is in something of a final form. We were ready to advertise it for your consideration and to notify the several hundred property owners who would have to be notified. And the belief was that since this property was not going to be able to be developed under that ordinance, at least not in the way that the developer is seeking to have it developed, that the township would wait and see what happened with this before we move the street road overlay forward itself. Because if this project goes forward under the SRMU, to a certain extent, the street road overlay may be dead. because this would significantly change the scope of what might be able to be done with other pieces of property along that corridor. But in any event, the belief was that wait and see what council thought of this, and then take it forward from there.
And it's been several years in the works, that overlay?
Not really.
Matt Takita was the
About two,
primary.
maybe. One and a half.
He was the guy that worked on it, and then
We're
unfortunately left.
We have a township code that we follow, and obviously if we're putting in this overlay, then certainly it would make more sense to then follow those rules and restrictions that we're putting in for this whole piece of property that we're looking to overlay. Does that include also a combination of retail and commercial, the overlay that we're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
We already have that on Street Light.
Yeah, no, I realize that.
They're looking
Yep.
how it
Yeah,
would
but
be
Ed,
redeveloped and developed.
All I'm saying is it's not fair to the residents, it's not fair to us. All I'm saying is that we should probably put something into place that outlines what we're going to develop within this particular area.
Well, he has no chance
right?
if you do that.
That's fine. I agree. There's change that has to be done to this. But at the end of the day, we have to figure out what we're going to do with this property. Do you not agree?
I agree you have to do something, but
Right.
you can't give
Okay.
somebody a carte blanche, do anything you want and fit
That-
anything you want in
that's
there.
fine.
Just regardless
That's
of
fine.
traffic.
Yeah. But if we're working on an overlay,
We're
then
giving the developer the courtesy of presenting to us a development that would work with the township. And as I said, we're not there as of yet, I do not believe, but that's the purpose. I mean, that's what we're doing. Now, if he wasn't here in front of us, then everything you say makes sense, because we're saying, then we're developing it according to what we're saying it should be and could be. He would like to develop it as he would like to, and we have to take that into consideration, I believe. And, since it's a major part of that area, to look at what he has to offer. I mean, we didn't know what he was going to offer. He could be saying, I want to put an airport in there.
He's in excess of 30, 40%. 30 high, density higher, 30, 40%. I spoke to Phil Worcester about that. He said that so if we go by the overlay, then we can't develop Armstrong. So we were trying to work with the developer as much as we could to try to work this out, but he adjusted a little bit.
that's fine. But Mr.
A little
Pandia,
bit.
if the township currently had an overlay as it sits today, would you be willing and flexible to meet or make a plan that would fit into that model?
I have to speak with the school board, and I can let you know with that.
You wouldn't be able to do it.
He won't be.
Wouldn't be able to do it.
Most likely, with time progressing, it doesn't look like this project, probably.
But that's the reason we allowed you to try to make your own ordinance, but your own ordinance allows you to have.
We did not make our own ordinance. We actually were working with Matt Takita, and we were working with the township officials.
Matt Takita doesn't work here anymore, but he didn't write the MUR.
Matt
Somebody for
Takita
you-
actually told us to write it for them because the township did not want to spend the money.
Well, you wrote it. Oh, that's okay. Other people
And
do
we
it
ended
too.
up
Why would
submitting it
why
as
would we
well.
spend the money to do an ordinance for you?
I'm sorry?
Why would we spend township money and taxpayer money to make an ordinance to suit you?
Actually, Matt Takita had something put together and was working on it, but when he abruptly left, this project went into a hole. And from that time on, we really have not, in this whole project, we've been making every change as per council. So if this project was probably told to us 3 years ago that it needs to be defined or done different way, we would have done it. We didn't want it to waste your time as well as us.
I've been telling you since day one, and you haven't listened to anything. And I told you, I was just one vote, so you had 4 other people to convince. But from day one, I told you.
You just realized tonight that
hotel.
it's 3.5 parking spaces per townhouse. You just realized that tonight?
No, I did not.
Well,
It's a mixed-use project.
You knew our current ordinance is 3.5 parking spaces.
That is correct, but this
Okay, when
is
you
a
came in
something
with 2.
separate project that you're looking at. This is a mixed-use project where this is a lot different than what is normally done.
And that's why we gave you the opportunity to put together your own zoning district.
Yes.
In order to try to cooperate but you went from Ruth Chris to Arby's, you went from no hotel to a hotel, back to no hotel. You cut it back a little bit, but not much. And
I
you
know
have
there
total
were
flexibility.
several other council people who said they would not like to see a hotel there. It wasn't just
It
Mr.
wasn't just
Polari.
If a hotel needs to be taken off, we can take the hotel off. But at this point, you know what I mean, if we have another 100,000.
Yeah, but you're saying that you'll put an office building by your own testimony will cause more traffic than a hotel.
So should I not have the office as well?
I don't know what you should have, but you should have something that works for that
So
area.
I think it would probably be more advisable if council can suggest the tenants and we will start approaching them if that's particular.
Okay, well.
I don't know what else to say.
I mean, we've met numerous times. You've met with us at council and the mayor to discuss your proposed concept, your proposed tenants. I think the biggest struggle that everybody's having is while your aspirations are high, there's nothing in this ordinance that holds your feet to the fire to do that. I think that's the biggest struggle that we have, at least that I have.
If there is some way to restrict to the plan which we have, I'm definitely open to that.
If it were to be restrictive, it would have, you have to understand, it would be because there's too much in there. There's just too much activity in that space, 30
For
acres.
the area. I mean, I work at Street in Unionville, and I live at Bensalem Boulevard, Union Road. Friday night, it takes me, I think there's a funeral going on every Friday night or something, you know. I have to wait, I have to listen to the radio and just be patient, it takes me 25 minutes to get home.
I will note that we just approved adaptive signaling tonight along the Unionville Road corridor, which hopefully will improve your commute home, Mr. Knowles.
Yeah, we'll see after they put a mosque in Unionville Road and then they have this, we'll see whether the adaptive lights are going to work. It's just too much for me, so it's just too much. But is there anybody else that would, should we open, do you have anything else, Jay, or?
Nope.
Okay, is there any other questions for the developer? Okay, we have public comment. Is there anybody that would like to come up for or against this project? Oh, yeah. Okay, can you take that down?
Can you take that plan down?
Can you take that plan down? Yeah. And not to say, but if you had a thumb drive, you could put it up on here so that people could see it and it'd be on TV. Okay? Okay, ma'am, if you just say your name and address, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, my name's Barbara Manalakis. I live at 3210 Fairway Road in the Brookwood section
Be
of
quiet,
Bensalem.
please. Someone's speaking. Go ahead.
Barbara Manalakis, 3210 Fairway Road. I live in the Brookwood section of Bensalem, directly across the Humeville Road from the proposed project.
Right.
I just first want to say thank you, council, for hearing us. I really appreciate your hearing us as homeowners, as citizens, as taxpayers of this community. We don't need another Wawa. We don't need another mega strip mall. We don't need another fast food restaurant. You get that, and I appreciate that. My concern with Mr. Polari, the traffic is horrendous. I also, living in Brookwood, it takes me 20 minutes to get to the turnpike. It should take me maybe 5 or 10. It's dangerous pulling out of my development from Brookwood Drive onto Humeville Road. Now they're proposing to put a road out onto Humeville Road directly in front of Brookwood. Who's to say that they're not going to connect it to Brookwood Drive and make that a throughway? My neighborhood becomes a free-for-all to come and cut through, down Brookwood Drive straight through to Street Road. I can tell you now, Brookwood Drive's already a nightmare with the traffic that does cut through there, so we don't need the extra traffic from this shopping center coming through there. The things that you're proposing are just utterly absurd and ridiculous. Townhomes, they didn't mention, are they going to be rental units, or are they going to be?
No, for sale.
They are for sale, okay. The stores that you're proposing, Trader Joe's, Ruth's Chris, I can tell you, I'm a Walmart and Target kind of gal, and I think probably most of the people in this room are. If I wanted to shop at Trader Joe's, and if I wanted to go eat at Ruth's Chris, I can go into the city and do that. If I wanted to go to Trader Joe's, I just got to hop on the turnpike. We don't need that here. Okay, and I'd be willing to bet that none of you have a strip mall or a fast food restaurant or townhomes in your backyard. So let me make a proposal to you. Go home, take your development plan in your backyard and tell me how your neighbors feel. I can guarantee you they're not going to be happy. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to put the easel up over here, so if people from the public want to come up and get a better look at it, they can look at the easel of the, it's not real, it's a concept of what he could do if we approve this ordinance. It's not what he's going to do, it's what he could do, but he could do any version of that also. But go ahead.
My name's Alan Windsor, 3232 Azalea Avenue. In this township, we have a mall that has two huge built parts of the building that has no tenant. And building something in the middle of Street Road is not what we need. In Horizon Boulevard, we have office buildings over there that are empty. You do not need office buildings in this township. You can't even, they have land over there they want to build on, but they can't get tenants for the buildings they have now. Office buildings is not what this township needs. Just in this area alone, there's neighbors that sit in back of this project that have flooding going on. And I understand you guys are working on that. The mayor's doing a pretty good job of trying to clean all this up. But exacerbating that by putting all that parking in there is just ridiculous. There's just a number of things. I honestly believe that you should not allow a tenant to come in and tell you what they want to use for zoning. That's your job. In my opinion, that's your job. Three of you have been sitting here long enough, and this overlay has been on the books for 2.5 years trying to get this done, and you're waiting for somebody else to come in and tell you what to do for your job. That's not the way it should be done. We elect you to do this for us. Let's start doing it. Stop playing games with guys that want to make money. Start helping the residents out. The traffic is ridiculous. I can go on and on for an hour, but I have other things to do. You guys have a great night.
Nice to see you.
Good evening. Stacy Polakowski, P as in Paul, O-L, A-K, O-W, S-K-I, champion. I reside at 623 Ashton Road, Bensalem. I grew up at 2060 Hansel Drive. And as the gentleman who was just here spoke, you bought my house. And they will attest to it, I'm sure. In 1982, we had a 6-foot flood in my home. We didn't have a flood because of Armstrong. We had a flood because the Pequesing backed up, which backed up to the creek that goes to the country club, which then backed up underneath Street Road, which then backed up into my house, and then along the other homes on Hansel Drive. So while I've heard that some of the residents have met with the developers to talk about stormwater management, having the dry lake at Armstrong never helped my house. It's great, floating out in the front yard while all the firemen are there wondering if your house is going to blow up because of gas. So with that being said, because I just wanted to address his comment about the flooding, I grew up there. I love my home. I love my neighbors. I still do drive down it to see my old house. But the thing about Hansel Drive is it's 22 homes on roughly 14 acres. 22 houses. Because I figured out they're all about a ½ acre apiece. You got 22 houses on a ½ acre, 11, 12 acres. You got Wendy's, you got the jewelers. So we're talking about 14 acres, give or take. You're wanting to put God knows how many townhouses on 4, 5 acres with no real open space. I have not seen any open space. I was at the Planning Commission meeting 3 weeks ago, and the gentleman right here had stood up and said, we need this to be flexible enough that if we cannot rent this out, that we're able to change it to be like what they're doing at 611 and Street Road, where they are now changing retail and office space over to apartments because they're not able to rent them out. We have enough apartments on Street Road. I grew up with enough apartments on Street Road. I did say at the last council meeting that driving down Street Road has gotten much better when my mother, as compared to when my mother came down. It's improved. It's probably about the same amount of time. You put in 1,500 cars a day at the worst intersection in Bensalem or in the country, you're not going to be able to get out of Hansel Drive. So when I did say it did take my mother not 20 minutes to get down Street Road, it probably takes roughly that much, give or take on a good day, she would come in her door or our door on a Friday night and say, I am not moving. I'm here. If you want pizza, walk around the corner and get it. I'm not moving. So the fact that they want to put all this retail, an 8-movie theater, we don't need one. We have 14 over Franklin Mills, if I'm not mistaken, 24 up at Neshaminy, and 10 down at Woodhaven. Nobody's going to walk to go to a movie there. There is no open drive when you look at this plan to make it look like a town center. All you see are buildings. When I imagine a town center or a main part of town, I imagine a drive with buildings circulating it, where people have a park area, where they can congregate, have a picnic with their family, have real open space. We have no open space on Street Road, and now we're proposing to develop 80% of it, 80% of 33 acres. That's a lot of that's a lot of space. 26 acres to be developed. I lived there. I grew up there. I know what it's like. I still go there. I still shop down there. And yes, are some of those shopping centers disgusting? Yes, but that's something that we should be doing as a township to make them more pretty, especially with the township overlay, on the Street Road overlay. Not putting in something because we want something pretty that will have a garage because we don't have enough parking spots. I'm sorry. I think you're absolutely ridiculous to even consider this. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the school district has not forced them to buy it because there are no contingencies. So why are we bending over backwards to make sure that they can get something so we can final the sale when it's not hurting us? It's not hurting them, it's hurting us if we put this in place. I don't have any other words to say. I am highly disappointed that it's taken 3 years to get to this point where we're telling them no, because they can't understand what we need as a township. It's what they want. It's not what we need. It's not what we desire. We don't need the traffic. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good evening. Samuel Lee, Superintendent, Bensalem Township School District, 3000 Don Allen Drive. The Bensalem Township School District favors and supports the rezoning of our Armstrong School site, which will support the transfer of this property. The sale of the property will significantly benefit the district, the children, families, and community we serve. The proceeds will assist the district with many capital initiatives, including the purchase of new school buses, security enhancements and infrastructure, and maintenance upgrades. The sale of this property will help keep our kids and community warm, safe, and dry. The property has not been fully utilized since 2005, has seen limited use between 2005 and 2011, and no use since 2011. The property continues to be a financial burden for the school districts, costing taxpayers substantial sums for utilities, maintenance, and insurance. The property is quite an eyesore and not at all reflective of the quality that is Bensalem. The property was listed for sale in 2015. While initial interest was significant, most potential buyers withdrew from consideration. One continued interest for an astonishingly low, below market price, while the current potential buyer maintained interest and eventually entered into an agreement of sale. The buyer intends to acquire not only Armstrong, but an additional 5 acres of our adjoining properties. This agreement also includes the requirement that the buyer demolish the existing school building, which is a cost avoidance to the school district and Bensalem taxpayers between $1.5 and $3 million. The Court of Common Pleas of Bucks County, after hearing, has approved the sale of the Armstrong School as unused and unnecessary property of the school district as required by Public School Code. The property has been under agreement since October 2016, and the agreement has been extended 10 times at the request of the potential buyer. We're excited to be this close to a transaction and all the associated advantages which the site will bring to our district and community. The substantial parcel of land and the improvements to be constructed on the property will be entered into the tax rolls, which will significantly benefit the district and the entire Bensalem community. Although full of history and fond memories, the school building no longer serves a useful purpose. We're excited about the prospects before our district and Bensalem related to the Armstrong property and are grateful for the potential buyers' continued interest, as many other potential buyers have walked away from this opportunity. Thank you.
Dr. Lee, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Is there a contingency on this property? Was there a contingency that there was a
Contingency related to?
Us saying yes to what he wants to do?
There's no contingency.
Then why did you not close on this and get your money already? Why are you putting it on us to approve for him whatever he wants and waiting to get your money when you could have had your money already? Because there was no contingency.
Well, we were hopeful and optimistic that the potential buyer would see their way clear to the appropriate and proper zoning and land development approvals.
But there was no contingency. So you're allowing them to go on and on and on.
As I mentioned, there were several buyers who just flat out walked away, and millions more than the potential purchase and price here.
So you're put on the residents of the township what the township doesn't want, so the township can get the money they can already have because there's no contingency. He should have wrote you a check the day that they agreed with you guys on a deal. You keep giving them an extension, that's okay.
That's correct.
I'm just saying that he should write you a check today.
The contingency is not for the full purchase price of the property. It's significantly less.
But the question is, was there a contingency in buying the property?
Was it based on zoning? Was it based on zoning?
No contingency.
Then he needs to give you the check now. You don't need to.
Again, it was not for the full purchase price of the property.
Dr. Lee.
It was for a fraction of the price. So, and we're not allowed to move property unless it is consistent with the appraised market value. And the court decides that, and they have.
Well, just speaking for myself, Dr. Lee, this is one of the reasons why we've met with this developer over and over and over again, okay? We met at the township building. I met him at the township building, okay, with our attorneys there and the mayor there. That's when I met him, okay? And I kept bending over backwards, trying to get it better and better and make it, because I know you guys could use the money.
Sure.
But we always try to work with you, but we can't over-densify that area with traffic and buildings just to get the school district a certain amount of money on a contingency deal they were supposed to have anyway.
And I don't disagree with that, and grateful for council's efforts in trying to,
And we gave you,
in its review of the site.
as you know, we gave you $2 million when we built the gym, okay? And a grant was matched for $4 million. So the township gave the school district $4 million to help you build the gym.
I believe that's correct before my time here.
So we're not like against the school district.
Oh, no, my presentation.
I know, but people are pitying.
Regret that you took it that way.
Your comments didn't, but other people's comments did. But it's just, we're trying to do our best for the future of the township, just not getting the school district money right now that they could use for buses or, my understanding is.
Understand and
for certain
appreciate
things,
that.
right?
So we share that common goal, the future of the township.
Yeah, and I hope there's a development, in the future that suits the community and suits the school district, and they both can be.
That would be tremendous.
That would be tremendous for
and
me,
easier for all of us,
And
but
the only reason I asked you that question was because there is no contingency, so there's nothing holding you back from saying, give us our check.
not a check for the full purchase price, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
The contingency isn't based on the full, the contingency, there's not a contingency connected to the sale, but it's not the full purchase price. It's a fraction of the purchase price. It's markedly less than the full price, so.
Can he walk away from the purchase of this whenever he would like?
Correct.
Yeah, there's a certain, my understanding is it's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It is significant money, but it's not, again,
Okay,
not
but you could-
close to the full purchase price.
You could take that money, that's a significant amount of money, and then you could either work with this developer. If he wants to walk, instead of like putting our feet, you could take $600,000, for instance, is the number I heard floated around. I don't know whether it's correct or not. You could take $600,000, and then you could.
$600,000.
Well,
What's that?
$600,000?
That's what I was told if you walked.
My
be able to keep.
My concern,
I don't know whether
and
it's correct.
and I think I was relatively clear, is there isn't that pool of buyers or interested parties in this site that may have been.
Well, it's been tied up for 3 years too, so people haven't really looked at it.
Oh, but we occasionally field interest, but that interest is sparse, it's few, and the calls are few and far between. It's not an easy parcel to move at this point in time. So that's.
I understand. Dr. Lee, I just had a couple questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I had the one that Mr. Polari had asked. And just to add to that point, the current zoning as it stands now is R11. So, so that's why I'm guessing Mr. Polari is asking the question as far as why you just don't unload the property at that point based off the current zoning. And just for your information, R11 allows single-family detached dwelling, municipal buildings, child, adult, or senior citizen daycare centers, and based off of the acreage of that property, could very well be up to 60 single-family dwellings. So that's just a comment. The two questions I do have is, would you happen to know why most of these individuals had withdrew from the purchase of this property?
Not incredibly connected to the details. The disinterest and disconnect was rather abrupt and sudden. But I can share with you two interested parties initially proffered significantly more money than the current buyer did. So, and again, we had to run this through the courts. They had to, we had to make, the courts made sure we were in line and aligned with public school code related to transfer of public school property. I don't envy you. I don't envy the task before this body. Appreciate you hearing me out on behalf of the school district and the kids I represent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Dr. Lee, I just wanted to also, Dr. Lee, I also just wanted to add, thanks for coming out this evening. I know you're missing an event. I just wanted to point out a lot of good things coming out from the school district. And
Well,
just to
thanks.
name a
I
few,
appreciate
basketball,
that.
baseball, robotics, PJs. I mean, there's just a slew of things coming out great from the
And
school
we're
district.
grateful for your recognition and acknowledgement. How about Snyder and St. Ephraim's? We must be the basketball capital of Bucks, right?
I know.
Here in Bensalem?
How about another big robotics win, too? I
Yeah.
understand.
Well, they're on to the World
That was
Championships.
incredible.
They are, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
shocked how great that was.
And that's because you're willing to reach out and be able to allow the kids to do these things and getting them ready for the future. There's a lot of good things that we do, and I always tell you.
Well,
that students-
we're all lucky to be Bensalem, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lee.
Yeah, they went up to.
My name is Jack Agder, 1951 Hansel Drive. I'm directly affected by this. I just heard the prior gentleman talking about the being contingency, no contingency, well, that's other thing, but what he forgot to tell everybody, say the guy gets his carte blanche, puts apartments up there. Bensalem don't need no more apartments. And he forgot to tell us that they do build the apartments and got to build more schools, that us taxpayers are one that's going to foot the bill for it. He forgot to tell us that.
I don't think there are any apartments.
Well,
in
he
this
had
development.
condominiums in here at one time.
Well, yeah, but if you don't-
There are no apartments.
Okay, but say he doesn't,
Well, he
say,
has, there's a lot of other stuff.
yeah, but say like the 611 thing, he comes back and says, well, I can't do this and I got to do apartments now. Well, they build.
There's no version of
He'd have to
this
come
that
back. He'd have
allows
to come
apartments. Apartments
Okay,
wouldn't, even
that's
if
one
this
thing.
were approved, apartments would still not be allowed on the property
Okay.
at all.
Well, the traffic issue's been already beat to death here. Okay, we know about that. You know, some of the other issues, our backyard, our house is directly affected because the road's going to come through 20 feet behind our fence. I mean, come on now. And the way it is now, we got the one shopping center, and then they're going to make another shopping center. It looks like we're going to be meat in the sandwich between two shopping centers. I mean, it's just, you know, and talk about diversity coming to the township. They don't spend money. The diversity of the current rush of people we have coming in now, they go out and buy 2 bags of rice and veggies and feed their family for a month. But they don't
Okay,
go out,
all right,
they don't spend.
Okay, that's, okay. Do you have anything else to say?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Rotloff, 1936 Hansel Drive. Anything we're considering tonight should be quantifiable, so I agree with you. We should know what's going in there. There's no magic wand that's going to get rid of the traffic. The traffic's only going to get exponentially worse. Right now, I have a tough time getting out of my street, going on to Humeville. Putting a red light 150 feet away is just going to stack the traffic up. There's no way of fixing that, so I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The property's going to be able to support what it can support. You can't make people from a higher-end business go there if they don't want to go there. It kind of is what it is, so thank you for what you said tonight. I appreciate it.
My name's George Anderson. I live at 868 Mill Road in Bensalem. This is my fourth or fifth time here. Everybody knows me by my first name.
This is only on this. He's talking about-
Yeah, George, we have public comment about this ordinance.
Excuse me?
This is only on this ordinance. You can come at the end and speak about what you want to speak about. We're aware of your situation. We're trying to work on it, but you can't speak now about your situation on Mill Road.
Oh, okay.
You can come at the end of the meeting, we'll have public comment, then you can come up again, and we'll get an update. We've been
I'm
trying
sorry,
to-
I was...
That's okay.
Okay.
No problem, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Tracy Connell. I live at 4615 Wagon House Lane, and I grew up on Hansel Drive. My parents bought the house, were the original owners. They bought it in 1960. They raised their 4 children on this street, and some of the greatest people in my life grew up on that street. As I looked out tonight, I saw neighbors that have helped me growing up. I am friends with their children. Families on that street are very close, and that's just the way it is. 20 houses. And what the plan said, and I looked at it and I saw it, it's not what this township needs. There's enough of commercial on Street Road. There's enough. There's shopping centers that don't have stores in it. Right now, Neshaminy Mall's going through. I said to somebody, and I think it would be a great idea if we put a community park in that part of the township. There is nothing local for the people that live on that end of the township. The closest one, of course, is the one here. And then that beautiful park that's up near Neshaminy Mall, the Fires Field. I go up there and walk around. It would be lovely if that would be something for the families in that end of the township. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you.
Tony Belfield, 2475 Greenland Court. Quick history lesson. Several years back, around 3 years back, the school district, rumor was going around, the school district was going to sell Armstrong School. As a past member of council, past council president, we had a meeting with the school district and they said, yeah, we're thinking about it, but we'll let you know if we make a decision. First notice that we had that the property was for sale was when the for sale sign went out front, and driving down the road, I saw it. We then had another meeting with the school district, and the school district said, yes, we're going to sell the property, but we'll keep you in the loop of everything that's going on. Yes, we want to cooperate with the township. We want this to be good for everyone in the township. Next word I heard was one of the developers called me up and was all excited. They had been presented their plans with 2 other developers and had been shortlisted for purchasing the property. That was the first indication that the property was going to be developed. Another meeting with the township, with the school board. Those plans were very similar to what you saw tonight. It was a mix of residential uses, commercial uses, pad sites along Street Road, pretty much more of the same. And those 3 developers pulled out when they all of a sudden realized the township had no idea of any of these plans, had not reviewed them, had not commented on them, didn't know anything about them. So they pulled their offers because their offers were contingent upon being able to build what they wanted to build, and they were on the assumption that the township was cognizant of this and was willing to grant them that permission. So that's how we got to this point. That's why those phenomenal offers were put out for Armstrong School. If the Courier-Times is to believe, subsequent to that, Mr. Pandia and his group made an unsolicited offer to the school board when those deals fell through and it became public that they fell through, and it was supposed to be an unconditional deal, meaning we're going to offer you X amount of money and we're going to pay you that amount of money, whether we get our approvals or not. It's just, we're going to pay. We're taking the risk, and that's why we're offering you so much less than when you had before, because we're taking the risk. Well, somewhere along the lines, that changed. And now we're here today, and this council is being put in the awkward position of trying to approve a plan without a plan. This is, my 8 years on council, this never happened. If a developer came into this township and wanted to build something, and our ordinances didn't fit, it was a square peg in a round hole. We didn't just have a zoning for what their particular use was, like the continuing care retirement community that Mr. Pizzo brought up. the developer would come to us with a set of plans and, engineered drawings. They weren't complete, but they showed the box on the piece of paper and where everything fit together and how everything was going to be. And it was a good starting point to come up with an ordinance that then the township would come up with to make sure, if that was consistent with what we were talking about, that it got built to our code and to our standards to protect our residents, our citizens. That's our job, and that's what we need to do. In this case, it's the cart before the horse. There was a question about the existing overlay. 3-4 years ago, partially because Armstrong was being put on the sales block, there was a cognizant effort, planning effort in the township to look at the street road corridor, because traffic is horrendous. The intersections are horrible. What can we do as a municipality? Now, we're limited. It's a state road. What can we do? And the ordinance was drafted and advertised, and we were told that as advertised, that was a placeholder. That took precedent. We were first in with our ordinance. And the idea of that primarily was reduce the curb cuts on street road, the points of access to street road, so then you could start mitigating the traffic and the flow onto street road. People weren't coming in their own driveways. To incentivize that with the underlying property owners. So if you had 3 property owners using 3 driveways, if they would agree to cross easements and come out at one driveway, then they would get some kind of benefit from that. Whether it was additional density for a development, whether it was something else along those lines. Same thing with credits. If different developments wanted to come into a property and develop them, and there were sympathetic uses, an office building that ended at 5 o'clock and a restaurant that opened its doors at 5 o'clock. Less parking needed because they would have a share parking. That would incentivize the underlying landowner to put all these traffic improvements in the things that we're talking about. And that's where that overlay was headed. And it would have dictated a lot of what we're talking about tonight, and what would have been allowed as uses and what wouldn't have been allowed as uses. Best of my knowledge, it's still floating out there, it still exists. This development is a classic example of overdevelopment. Too much stuff being jammed into too small a space with no place for the people to go. They're going to get dumped out onto street road, they're going to increase that traffic, and they're saying, well, we'll just do whatever PennDOT tells us to do. PennDOT says we want 2 dedicated right-hand turn lanes. Their development totally changes. They lose all that frontage. They say they're going to put 3.5 parking spaces in. Where are they coming up with those parking spaces? What are they going to take off the plan to allow that to happen? They're already built out to the max. There's nothing, we have this open space over here. We can throw a couple extra parking spots over there. There's none of that. There's no open space in this plan to speak of. So you're losing everything. You're gaining what you already have, development and uses that already exist in the township, and you're you're exacerbating a problem that this township has been working for 10 years to try to solve, the traffic on Street Road and Humeville Road. So again, I think this is a situation of the cart before the horse. You can't approve an ordinance designed for a specific use and then, as soon as it's approved, allow that use without any idea what the use is. They could come back tomorrow and decide, we want 2 gas stations. One's not enough. They could make whatever changes they want. It takes all your power and authority away from you to govern, to regulate, to make sure what development occurs is for the best of the community. Just gives that away. Developer can come in and do what he wants. So I caution you against it. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Yagnesh Choksi, living at 2488 Headhouse Square South. Well, I will talk about common sense. Every problem has solutions. And we all are, whether you are on this side of the room or you are on this side of the room, we all together work for the better Bensalem. From the day one, it is a slogan of better Bensalem. And if that is the case, taking 3 years in making any decision like this, I think it's no good. We have to guide the people and try to minimize the time so that we can effectively increase the growth of the Bensalem. If we don't have problems, what? We gonna stop growing? I don't think so. And on top of that, we should think about that school board is depriving of the expenses which are occur since last 3 years. Secondly, we are forgetting that we want to do a growth in the job market. It's gonna create 200 to 500 jobs in the locally, which our people will get it. It will generate the revenue for the township. Have we thought about that? And that tax revenue we're gonna losing in last 3 years. So I think let's sit together, decide what we want to do, and that's about it. Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Joanne Kelly. I reside at 1919 Hansel Drive. I'm here mainly to object to the type of zoning that is being requested tonight. I know that something's going to happen with the property. It's going to affect me no matter what. But this, and it's not really an overlay zoning, because overlay means you keep the current use and you protect it. There's nothing protective of the current use in any of the plans that you saw tonight. We have no real need, I believe, in Bensalem for additional commercial establishments. What we should be doing is trying to eradicate some of the spotty blight in commercial establishments that are throughout the township at this point. And we should not be enabling more or planning for our future blight with this program or this proposal. The property that we're speaking of is 33 acres. If I look out my kitchen window, I can see it all, the entirety of it. It is small. My backyard is 1 acre, or my lot. I can't imagine 17 houses on my lot. It has 1 house. I can barely put a shed there. I can't imagine 17 houses. This is way too dense of a proposal under any circumstances. I should not look out my kitchen window and be able to see a 3-story garage, riddles of 3-story houses, 5-story hotel, and looking at the list of all the things that are proposed, a movie theater, I cannot imagine that any of this would be apropos for this very, very small space. And yet what you are asking to approve, you're being asked to approve tonight, provides for all of that. Unrestricted. This is unheard of. I understand that the school district, the current owner of the property, who is ironically supposed to answer to the Bensalem residents, and which is specifically charged to protect the 3 elementary schools adjacent to this property, wants you to approve what's going on. We just heard Dr. Lee say so. But they should know that when you have this small of a tract and you develop it to the point of benefiting solely one person, and that would be the developer in this case, there's a real potential that down the line, this is going to be called spot zoning, and it'd be held invalid anyway, because you cannot do that to the exclusion of the welfare of the community, and that's what this proposal will do. The proposed zoning ordinance actually prohibits this board and the council from doing their job in the future. I know somebody touched on that earlier. You're giving up your right to control and have a say in what happens on this very small piece of property if you allow the zoning proposal to go through. And I am getting the idea at this point the council knows that there are real problems with this. I'm getting the idea that we're probably not even going to be dealing with this. I mean, I would love to see the red line part submitted to you. I would love to see the ones with all the changes so that I could actually have an educated response to what the proposal actually is. So I also want to point out that aside from boilerplate language in this zoning proposal, there is nothing there that specifically addresses any special social value of Bensalem residents. All of this is a requirement for determining what we're going to have in our township. It is for the health and the safety and welfare of the residents. It is not to provide a profit-generating town space. We must consider the residents who've been there forever, on particular Hansel Drive. And, you know, my property values, and I'm speaking personally, but I'm in the same boat with everybody else here. My property values are going to go down. No, there's no two ways about it. This zoning proposal gives me 20 feet from my backyard to whatever they decide to put wherever. This council cannot allow that. It is the same for everybody on Hansel Drive. Hansel and Humeville Road residents will also be subjected to a very unreasonable interference with our current use and enjoyment of our property. You see the density of this proposal. We are talking noise, we are talking odor, we are talking night lighting, we are talking crowds, and we are obviously talking ungodly traffic. The proposal in no way conforms to, nor is it compatible with, the current use of all of the surrounding area, with the exception of the street road frontage. So why do we have to do an overlay so encompassing and so sweeping? Let's deal with this street road frontage. Let's do some of the proposal. Put it there at the street road frontage. It's commercial area, and that's what it's currently used as. Conform it to that. But the rest of it, it's residential. And so there's no real need to try and put so many buildings on this very, very small parcel of ground that I can see with just looking. You would think that we were developing half the township if you look at these plans. Now, I speak very seriously when I say I expect this council to protect us from moves such as this. That is what this council's job is. And there is not one provision in this entire proposal that suggests or shows any way that this developer will minimize any of the adverse effects to the Hansel Drive residents. This is going to strain all of the municipal services. There's nothing in this proposal that addresses any of that. Why aren't there specific permit provisions within this proposal so that this council could keep some sort of control over what is actually decided on when it goes into this project? Why are you so willing to abrogate your control or your duty as council by allowing this unheard of overlay to be part of our plan here? Almost done. I haven't seen an environmental impact report. I assume one has not been done. I'm requesting, although, think about this, it's such a small parcel of land. We really don't need a report to tell us about the adverse environmental effects. We can envision it, each and every one of us as we sit here now. You don't need a report to tell you what this is going to look like. I request that this council reject this mixed-use overlay. I request that you require restricted zoning for specific areas in this little 33-acre plot. Why can't you do that? Why do we have to have an over-encompassing overlay over which we will give up all control, or through which gives everybody else control over what's happening? For me, I'm asking you not to delegate your authority to anybody else. And I'm telling you that this developer, and I don't care what has been said or what will be said, has no legal obligation to protect my rights, to protect the rights of the citizens of Bensalem. And their interest, which it should be, is profit. It doesn't mean this property can't be profitable. Their interest is legitimate. But I personally can't afford to shoulder the penalty for their profit, and that's what I will be doing as a resident that backs up to this proposal. And I am incensed at the thought that I am going to yet again keep the burden of a property owner who is fiscally irresponsible and is requiring this deal to go through for no other purpose. It's my taxpayer money that provides all the services within the school district, and I will not, and I don't expect anybody, and we shouldn't support any fiscal irresponsibility that is forcing this deal to go through today. And because this deal here is so ambiguous, and because we have absolutely no idea what we're doing, I'm requesting the right to come back and tell you, if you are considering this, let me have a chance to give you additional provisions within this zoning. Let me tell this developer, 40 feet minimum in between whatever you do and my property, with a berm, with a fence, with greenery, and putting your street with a sidewalk, and on the other side of the sidewalk, facing Snyder, a trail. Something, don't just give me, I could get a dumpster in my backyard within 20 feet, as it is now, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that is inherently unfair. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Ann Griffin, 3101 Addison Court. I do not live on Hansel Drive, but I did grow up in that end of the township. The one thing I wanted to say is, just because I know this, because I walk Neshaminy Mall as my exercise, there's 17 empty stores in Neshaminy Mall now. There is, just off the top of my head, I counted 7 hotels just down as far as Knights Road, and 15 restaurants, all on Street Road. Now, that's just sitting there, me counting off the top of my head. We don't need restaurants, we don't need hotels. I worked for 15 years on Tillman Drive, okay? Coming out of Tillman Drive at 5 o'clock at night, and it has nothing to do with Parks Casino. That is a 5-story office building. It's one of the largest office buildings we have here. We are backed up all the way back to the 5-story office building, trying to get out onto Street Road to either go left or right. So we do not, that's what that office building does. Can you just imagine what Street Road's going to be like if we have office buildings there? It's just going to be worse. And like I said, everybody used to blame Parks Casino for it, but it's not, because like I said, I was there 15 years and it was the same way. The intersection at Richelieu Road and Street Road, there's always an accident there because of all the traffic that comes down Richelieu Road that's trying to make a left-hand turn. I was at Philadelphia Life Christian Center today. I could not make a left-hand turn out of there. I had to go right and go down Mechanicsville, which maybe is not a big deal, but it's just, it is. It's the traffic, and to put something that large in that area, how much were the houses going to be? Do we even have an idea of what the cost of the townhouses or condos were going to be?
We can get that answer for you.
Okay. Lanier, the one that's on Galloway Road, they're just barely starting those houses there. The people that actually have put money down on houses, they're asking for their money back. Waterside can't finish what they're doing because they're not selling their houses. So we're putting more houses in, and then we have houses that are being built that are developments that are started that we can't even get filled. So I feel bad for the school district. I really, really do. I know they need to get rid of that elephant, and it's for a benefit of the school district. It's for a benefit for the school, the teachers, everything has to do with Bensalem, but it's not the right concept for us as a township to do that. I mean, I went to high school at that school when it was the high school. And Humble Road, when you've got the 2 middle schools and you've got the elementary school, you can't come off a Street Road and make a right-hand turn onto Humble Road because the traffic's so backed up, because the schools are letting out, the buses are trying to come out. And you've got the crossing guards, and let me tell you, the crossing guard that's between the Snyder and Struble, I feel her pain, because I can't believe she actually goes out in the middle of that road and stops traffic, because it's horrible. But I feel, it seems like, I think council will do the right thing here. They will think of our township. Like I said, hopefully something else will come along that'll work out better for us. But the plan that's up here in front of us now, it's just not going to work for our township and for the school. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Barbara Zeidler. I live at 1108 Ohio Avenue. No, I don't live on Hansel Drive either, but I use Street Road a lot. And I think that a lot has already been said. No, we don't need a hotel on Street Road, not at that spot. We certainly don't need another bank. Item 5B just put another bank on Street Road, which is the third one on that intersection. There's only one corner now that won't have a bank. So we certainly don't need that. We don't need more movies, and we don't need a gas station or a Wawa. There's one right across the street at Humeville and Street Road. And we certainly, most of all, don't need the traffic that it's going to create. It's ludicrous. I think that property could probably handle about 10% of what's on there. But the other thing is, it bothers me that it would be unrestricted, and I was very appreciative of what Mr. Pizzo said, that it's not really an overlay, it's a rezone, and that's just not fair. When you think that, two things that I want to mention. It's probably been well over a year ago now that Habitat for Humanity was denied building 12 houses because of what it was going to do for traffic on another road. But the point is, it was a traffic concern. That's what turned them down. Well, the traffic concern on Street Road is a million times worse than what it would have been on Gibson Road. And the other thing is, I'm talking about what's already empty. And I know they're considered obsolete, dilapidated, and all the other nice adjectives that were used to describe where we shop. Well, right up as you come off of Route 1 and enter Bensalem, coming down Street Road, two things were torn down, Hooters and a bar. And instead, there was a lovely new shopping center built with a nice little park, with a Wawa, with gas pumps. And that's got to be there 2 years already. And most of those stores, those new stores in a lovely shopping area, are still empty. The only thing in there is the Metro restaurant and a nail salon. Those haven't even been occupied yet. Forget about the old stores that are empty. We've got brand new stores in this township that are empty. We don't need new stores on Street Road or anywhere else.
Good evening, gentlemen. Rachel Fingles, 5160 Euston Court. I'm not here in my capacity as a school board director. I'm really just coming here tonight to speak to you as a parent of young children, 8-year-old and 4-year-old. I grew up in Bensalem. I am currently a resident millennial of Bensalem. And there's a couple of things I wanted to say, which is that we do a lot of work. You guys do work with the school district. We do deals where we rent land to you for less so that the community can use it. We've been a good, we've taken care of, we've been a good steward of community recreation and open space. The community park is a good example of that. And I'm hearing a lot, usually at school board meetings, we get yelled at by people. That's kind of like what we have to experience. And tonight I hear a lot of yelling the other way around. And what I'm really just asking you to do is get 3 votes to put something there and let the land sell. It's been 3 years. We have a serious buyer. Yes, we need the money for school district, but we're really just one community here. I mean, everybody's talking about the township as an entity and the school district as an entity, but we live in a unique situation where our township and our school district are the same entity. And maybe we don't control the same finances, but we have the same constituents and we have the same tax base. So what can we do to get this to go through? There's a lot of finger pointing both ways. I know that there's feedback that the buyer has gotten that he has tried to incorporate in plans, and that's why we've had so many extensions on the sale, so many addendums. Let's just come up with something that makes sense. You've heard some really valid concerns from some of the constituents here tonight. I think there's always going to be people that are unhappy with whatever it is that you guys decide, but please decide something, because we have to do something with that land. And the longer it waits, the less of a chance we have to sell any other property in this district. And we want people, young people, to move here, to want to move back here, to raise their families. I'm staying here. I'm raising my family here. And I want to know why there's land that's been sitting there for so long. So please be part of the solution instead of finding the problems, and come up with something to do with that property.
Okay, is there anybody else?
My name's Diane Haight. I live at 2021 Hansel Drive. My husband and I just recently purchased that property, and I personally think it was too expensive, but whatever. We just put $100,000 into that house. $100,000 with a new roof, new everything, making it really, really nice neighborhood and all of that. I can deal with the traffic at the end of Hansel Drive. I can deal with Humeville. I'm sorry, I'm kind of new. I don't know where anything is. But if we laid out $100,000 to make that house nice, and there's ugly in back of our property. Now, I get that too. Somebody had mentioned about a fence and then some shrubbery and all that stuff. Do what you want to do. It is an eyesore up there. And we get skunks and stuff that come down. You know, it's whatever. It needs to be taken care of. But please, I'm brand new to this area and I'm not going anywhere. But if you could just figure it out. But I don't want to lose my house, and I don't want to lose what we spent a ridiculous amount of money to come here. I used to live in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Very nice outside of Hershey. I don't want to be sorry that I moved here. But if there's a whole ton of stuff, I can't even stand Parks Casino, and that's way down. I can't stand it, but whatever, that's not my business. But if it comes up to the back of my house, that's going to freak me out, and I'm going to sell my house, and I'm going to lose a whole lot of money, and God bless anybody else that moves into that area. So, you know, whatever. It'd be great to have a park. Is it financially feasible? Probably not. But don't make me waste all that money on fixing up my house, and then it gets wrecked. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else, you want to come up for public comment? Then we're going to close public comment if no one else comes up.
Hi, my name's Kimberly Scoggins. My parents live at 2007 Hansel Drive. They purchased the house from the original owners, which were the Kiplings, about 35 years ago, okay? I was raised there. I've raised my children there. My children went through the Bensalem School District. My grandchildren are now going through the Bensalem School District, okay? In the 35 years that my parents have lived on that street and in that home, okay, it is one of the best streets in Bensalem, okay? All the neighbors know each other, love each other, okay? They utilize that field, they utilize the track, they utilize the ball fields back there, okay? Over the 35 years that we have lived here, I'm watching the grounds back there erode, okay? From the underground lake, the drainage from Bucks Meadows, from the developments up at the end of Street Road, okay? We flood. What are we gonna flood like when this developments get put back there, okay? Nobody's worried about us residents on Hansel Drive that are directly behind this development that is going to be built, okay? Which is where my parents' home resides, okay? We are on that side of the road, okay? My parents put hundreds of thousands of dollars into their home over 35 years, okay? They stand to lose a lot of money as well, okay? I don't want to see them do that, okay? I would like to stay there and raise my grandchildren there, have my grandchildren have that home to be able to raise my great-grandchildren there. This development goes up. Why can't we build some kind of new library? Why can't we build some kind of police athletic league, okay, that offers STEM initiatives to our children, okay, instead of a trampoline park that is definitely not needed? 9/10 of the homes on Hansel Drive have trampolines of their own. We don't need a trampoline park, okay? It's your personal preference. If you want to have a trampoline and you want to put your children at risk, okay, or not risk, that's your prerogative. But to build a trampoline park to just for nothing? I mean, our children need libraries. They need open spaces. They need places to play, okay? They don't need more movie theaters. They don't need more shopping centers, okay, that they can go and hang out and get in trouble with, okay? Or meet up with the wrong elements and hang out all night long, okay? They need something constructive to do, okay? And in this township, up this upper end of this township, there is nothing, okay? They either have to go to, by the Christian Life Center, they have to go down to the Bucks County Bears, they have to go down to the Bensalem Ramblers, okay? What is in it for the community of Brookwood, the Hansel Drive children, and the people that live along Humeville Road and Street Road there, okay, and Eddington? There's nothing. So I think it would be more useful if we could build something for the children, okay? Because we're forgetting about the future of this township, okay? Well, all we're talking about is the monetary part of this township. Well, what about our children? They're the future constituents of this township, okay? And I believe that right now they may be too young to vote, okay? But there's going to come a time when they're going to be able to vote. And they're not going to want more strip malls, motels, parking garages, okay? And then what's going to happen to our property values right now, okay? Our property values are going to decrease greatly because of this development on this tiny little parcel of land, okay? That right now is a beautiful open space. And I understand it's not pulling money in for the school district and for this, that, and the next. But I thought that that's what the casino was here to do, okay? That they were going to generate money to this township to help our school district. I don't see that happening. Let's make it happen. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, with that, we'll close public comment, I guess. I don't see anybody else coming up. Okay, do you have a price range that the townhouses are going to be? Do you know? That was one question that someone had asked. Do you have any idea what the townhouses are going to sell, price range? What's that? High 300s. High 300s, okay, that was the answer. Can you come up for a second? You know what the square footage of each unit would be?
Not right now. Those are just, we haven't done the engineering yet. Those are conceptual plans.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense.
Okay, does anybody from council have any additional questions for the representatives from the development? They're staying here, wait. Okay, I think we're good unless you have something else you want to say.
We have nothing further to offer.
Okay.
I'm going to put a motion on the floor if there's no more questions from the councilman then.
Okay, we'll put a motion on the
I'll
floor.
put a motion on the floor that we deny the amending of the Township Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 232 of the Township Code. This is to create the Article 6, Division 7 of the SRMU Street Road Mixed Use Overlay District.
Okay, is there a second to deny the the ordinance change? Second. Okay, all in favor of denying the zoning change, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against denying? Any nays? Did you vote or no?
I voted with you.
It was 5-0, Joe.
Oh, 5-0, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, so it's denied. Hopefully, maybe we can come back and work in the future, you know? It's not too bad. Yeah, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to come back and finish up the meeting, okay? We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and finish up the meeting. Okay, we're going to get Mr. Mayor. I know, but still, I'm trying to be courteous. Okay, we wanted to, Mr. Mayor, he's going to answer, he's referring to this public comment. Yeah. Well, he's going to have to get here because we need to start up. I don't know where he went. Yeah. We're not voting on anything. We're just having public comment. Okay, does anybody want to come up for general public comment at this point?
Joe, do we have to address item number 10 since item number 9 got denied?
No.
No. It just falls off? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to vote on that too, Joe? Okay.
No. It's not possible for you to vote to rezone that property to SMRU.
Right, okay,
since
so
it
it
doesn't
kind of
exist.
nixed, okay, yep, nixed it. It's a good point, but it nixed it, yeah. Okay, sir, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Do I have to give my name again?
Well, just for the record, yeah.
Right, it's
Yeah.
George Anderson.
Yeah.
Okay, George.
George, we know your name by now,
Yeah,
actually,
no, I mean, yeah.
unfortunately. I mean, it's
Definitely,
nice to see it, but I hope we're getting your problem resolved pretty soon, but.
Mr.
yeah.
President, may I address this since we've been working on this and I had Quentin here. We had a 3-hour meeting on Friday on this very thing, the road, the sign, and attorneys were there. Quentin was there as the engineer and also Ken was there from Building and Planning. It's obviously a little more complicated and what it is lawfully. We're doing everything. You're right. We support you and trying to get it done. So what I'll do is I'll let the attorney and Quentin, if you don't mind, give you what's going on. Because I'm telling you, we're spending a lot of time on this, trying to get this straightened out for you. So I'll let them, if you don't mind, so we give you a real update.
We'll update you on where we're at.
Well, we have a new development down there. They,
Oh, a new one. Okay, I don't know about that one.
The police put up signs,
No parking, right?
Right.
Okay, you need, I thought you were going to do a new development in the.
Yeah, my daughter and I went to the first week in March up to the police station. And they said they couldn't do anything about it unless you authorized it. Then the moving vehicles and whatever. I mean, it's getting to be ridiculous. Every couple of days it's something new.
What'd you say?
I have pictures here.
Everything's ridiculous.
Can I,
Correspondence between you and our Director of Public Safety on an email or.
can I show the pictures to you?
We understand there's a
Do
problem.
you want us
okay.
to bring him up to date and then he bring us up to date? I think your council should
We
know.
understand there's a problem, we're not arguing it's not a problem. We're trying to resolve the problem. So Mayor, can you?
Yeah, would you have a little patience that we bring you up to date?
I would appreciate it.
Okay, Quentin?
So the township, as a result of Mr. Anderson's prior appearances and the ongoing several issues involving this little corner of our community, the township cited the owner of the sign. You will all recall that that was an issue, that the granite business had put up a sign. He had been issued permits for the sign, but installed the sign in the wrong location, and it was creating a site hazard. Township asked him to move the sign. He chose not to. Township asked him again to move the sign. He chose not to. Township took him to District Justice Gallagher. The hearing was just this past Friday. The judge gave Mr. Correa 30 days to get the sign gone. Not relocated, but gone. So 30 days from last Friday, start marking your calendar. That's how much time that gentleman has. To move the sign.
Will that, when they move the sign, will it be permanent?
It will be permanently moved from that location. Now, Mr. Correa has the right to put a sign on his property, but he has to come in and apply for a new permit to do that. And that would be what's called an on-premises sign. He has the right to have an on-premises sign for his building on his property. The sign currently that's out on Mill Road is what's called an off-premises sign. Different set of rules for that than there are for an on-premises sign. At this point in time, he's been cited. The judge has told him that that sign has to go. Now, Mr. Correa has expressed to the township concern that that vehicles going to his business will not know that his business is there because it's that street, Robinson, I believe, is the street that leads back to his business. So what the township has stated it will do, and we told the judge that we would do this, is that we will install a directional sign at the intersection of Robinson and Mill that will tell anyone who's looking, it will look like a street sign. So it'll say Robinson Avenue, whatever the name of the granite business is, this way. So that will take care of his needs to have a locational sign. We do this in other places in the township. The big granite sign that's blocking everybody's view has to be removed in 30 days. Don't ask me what happens if he doesn't remove it in 30 days, because I don't know what the answer to that is yet. But as of right now, the court has given him 30 days to move it on his own, and we're hopeful that that's what will happen. Secondly, the township had received complaints about trucks going to the granite business now parking on Robinson Avenue. That complaint came from you, it came from others. The township has gone out and temporarily placed no parking signs along the road.
Which one?
I believe along Robinson.
Okay, that's the police sign.
Police signs that say no
Okay.
parking. All right? That is in advance of us being able to make permanent no parking signs along that road. So we believe that will address the concern of the resident who lives there at the corner of Mill and Robinson, as well as yours, about trucks that are parking on that road. So we've already put up the temporary no parking signs, and they're there in advance of the permanent no parking signs going in for that stretch of road. So that is in the works as well. Third, you had mentioned about the Paper Street, the section of Robinson behind your house that he's encroached into with his parking lot. I believe Quentin is supposed to go out to the property this week to mark the boundaries of where the Paper Street are.
Right.
And Mr. Correa is going to be advised that he has to get his parking lot out of the right-of-way. So again, we're going to show him where the edge of the right-of-way is. He'll be given, as we're required to do, some amount of time to move the parking back. If he fails to comply with our directive, then we'll take him to court, just as we did with the sign.
Well, every couple of weeks, he takes a plane down to South America, for what I understand.
Well, he has other people running his business while he's in South America, so if he's not able to do it personally, he has people in his employ, I'm sure, who will be able to do those things because the property's occupied by his business.
Well, I hope
So
the
do
ending
we.
will be shortly.
We hope it works as well, but again, we heard your complaints, we took him to court, we got a decision of the judge that he has to move the sign. Sign's going to be moved. If he doesn't do it, then we'll take the next steps to do it ourselves.
Joe, if someone parks with a temporary no parking sign, can we give them a ticket?
Yes.
Okay, so
If it says no parking, police regulation, and someone parks there,
I saw Fred had emailed you back or Facebooked you back or something. But, so the temporary parking signs, if someone who parks his trucks there, the police will go down and give them a ticket.
You're talking about behind the house,
Where they put the parking signs up, no parking.
and that will start, what, tomorrow?
Started already, right? The no parking signs are up.
you said the signs are there, correct?
Well, the sign, yeah, I can show you what's there.
Well, no, we know the signs are there.
Yeah, I know
mean,
that
that's-
too, but the thing is,
We haven't put up.
this 45-foot trailers are there too.
Well, if the
Come back and forwards.
Well, if the trailers are parking where it says they can't park, then someone needs to notify the police so they can go out and ticket the vehicle.
Can I show you what I have?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I'm not arguing with you. You need to talk to every nature.
That's the house where I'm parking, right? Here. Here.
So we see the no parking signs. I don't see anybody parking in violation of the sign. What is it you're trying to show us?
He's showing us here now. Is this what you're showing us, where
Yeah,
the trucks are?
The tractor trailer.
Is there a sign there, though?
No.
No? Where is it? Is this on Robinson?
Well, see, Robinson Avenue and Robinson Avenue, it's two different. I went,
Okay, this is. Explain.
okay.
This is the. Council, we're working really on this, so he's trying to. That might be on. I'm not trying. Can just give us a minute?
These are definitely on Byberry Street, so he might be off of that a little bit.
Huh?
I'm just looking at the area where he's at, because this is the back of this new building here.
Can there be no parking there?
They weren't doing this area
Yeah.
or the other side, they were just doing the main drug coming down.
Those
It's a T.
aren't opened as streets. I don't know. It's what, gravel back
Are you
there?
gonna be
Yeah, it's
home
paved.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's paved.
You'll be home
Can you
tomorrow?
come down, somebody down?
Can we go down there tomorrow?
I'm paving in the morning, but after like 10.
After 10?
Okay, well, even so. I photographed all this today.
I see that.
We see that.
You
But
did your
but
homework.
everywhere where there's a no parking sign, no one is parking.
Right.
So we've gotten that accomplished.
That's a different street.
So this is,
That's not the one we were having a problem.
okay, this one you're having a problem.
All right,
Yes.
well, the lady who lives in this house was having a problem with trucks parking here, which is why we put the no parking signs there.
That's the only where the signs are.
Well, that's because that's the only place we knew that it was a problem. Now you're telling us it's also a problem here, which is different than on here.
Can I see? Sure. You say here.
You want to adjourn your meeting? Is it okay if they adjourn their meeting and we keep talking?
And then we'll talk about, someone can meet with them, right?
Yeah, we're going to do it tomorrow. He's got a different issue he's showing.
Okay, all right, so can we handle this tomorrow with you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so
Okay.
we continue the meeting, and then we can talk a little bit, thank you. Okay, because I want to have a little bit of stop for it. Okay, is there anybody else that would want to come up for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll go for public comment. I did that real quick before Alan could get up, you know? Okay, so is there any other business, Ron? Okay, is there any other business, Deb? Yes. We have plans to sign, so we need council people to stay and sign those plans. Oh, okay, Mayor, do you have anything?
Sign that one.
Mayor, do you have anything you would need to add?
What's the date of today? It's Easter, not around.
No, it's
Couple weeks,
meeting.
after the next meeting.
Oh, so Easter's on its way.
It's on its way.
Wish everybody,
No, wait a minute, no. Isn't Easter's before?
Is it before?
Yeah, Easter's before, I think Good Friday's the 19th. Yeah. Mr. Pizzo or Lauren, are you guys okay?
Nothing this evening.
Okay, Mr. Sloan, do you have anything?
Wait, she doesn't speak for me.
No, I said Mr. Pizzo or.
She said no. I do speak.
Joe, nobody can speak for you.
Mr. Sloan, do you have anything?
I just wanted to request, now that we're into April, if we could get a copy, at the earliest convenience of the first quarter financial statement, similar to what we did last year. Mr.
Mayor, he's asking for the first quarter financial statement since it's April.
Okay.
Well, it's barely April, but.
That's the one, when I ask now, put it out there. I know it'll take some time.
No money
The quarter
coming
just
in,
ended like
money
3
going
days
out.
ago.
Jesse, no money coming in, money going out. What else you want to know?
9 days ago it ended.
And the other question I had for Mr. Pizzo, I know at the last budget meeting, we had talked about looking into the amusement tax for the Excite Center, and I wanted to know if you had made any progress on looking into that.
Yes, we have. We met with representatives of Parks Casino to discuss our various perspectives as to the applicability of the township's ordinance to the various activities taking place at parks. We also ask them to provide us with their first-year numbers for that facility as best as they could, based upon the basically the facility being open now a little over a year. So if they could give us an idea of what the amusement tax is that they've collected. So they just recently provided us with some estimated numbers, and the Finance Department has those and is crunching those. In the meantime, we are still working on the question of both the applicability and the enforceability of that tax, should we collectively determine that events at the Excite Center would be subject to that. So it's a long-winded way of saying, yes, we're working on it, and we are moving the ball down the field.
Can we, council, know the estimated numbers that were provided to the Finance Department?
I don't think that should be a problem. So I'll talk if they could have the numbers. I don't think that there's any, I don't think that Park shared them with the township in any sort of confidential nature. I'll double check on that, but I don't think it should be a problem.
Even if they had, I believe that we would still be privy to that information as council.
Sure.
So I would officially like to request a copy then, please.
You don't have to officially request. All you have to
Whatever
do is
it
request.
takes.
All you have to do is request.
There you go.
I double officially request.
We'll just show them this part of the meeting. They'll get the message.
Okay.
And then just I wish everybody happy Easter, happy Passover. That's it.
Is Passover before the 22nd, this thing?
I have my next?
Yeah, you can be
Okay,
next, yeah.
Thank you. A few items. First thing, Mayor, real quick, just an update on the Public Works Director. I know I saw an email, I think it was back in January, when Dawn had sent out and say that it was official as of April 1, but it was flexible. Just wondering where we're at with it, if we got any resumes.
We have a lot of resumes. We have a number 2 guy that's down there now that we hired. We haven't hired a director yet. We're still looking for that. I can't give you a timeline. I'd be lying to you if I said when, but.
Okay. Is Mr. Ryan still in place there at this point, or is he
Who?
officially?
He is there part-time, just helping out.
Okay.
Probably for the next week, this week and maybe next week, a couple days.
Okay.
And then that should be the end of it.
All right. Okay, well, congratulations to him on his retirement.
Yeah,
He's been here a long time, so share those sentiments.
They're all started with me, they're all old.
And I have two items for Quentin, if you don't mind, real quick. Yeah, please. Just some updates. The warehouse down on State Road, I don't have the boots that you do, sir. And first of all, let me just say, I've sent a couple of requests over the last week or so in the mayor's office. Through the mayor's office, I responsive, and yes, they're getting back to them. Yep. So I was just wondering as far as an update. Yep, I was down there climbing out on those mounds myself, so my shoes are pretty dirty.
Oh, yes.
But I was hoping maybe we could try to mitigate some of the concern that was down there on the haunted lane.
Right, so I went down there Friday, we were not there on Thursday, so we did not see the dust storm that was occurring down there.
Yeah.
We did observe dust, dirt blowing on Friday, which we told them right away. You need to water down your truck paths, which they did. When we returned, it was done and there was no issues. Did not get a chance to talk to the resident at 404, I believe her address is.
Yeah,
I stopped out there today, met with her husband. There's still some dirt on some of the items, but I guess from the rains Saturday or whatever, Friday, and this overnight, most of it's been cleaned off. I told them I will check back in with them after the next rain to see if there's anything else that needs to be cleaned off that's not
Yep.
to their satisfaction.
And I guess when I was down there, and I agree with you with the water truck, but they had said, well, we used it about an hour ago. I said, guys,
It's a continuous thing.
If it's dry, you need to be using it a lot more often than just once or twice a day. So I
know
hope that you communicated that.
The superintendent for the project told me on Friday when I was there that the issue was basically on the large building pad itself. The reason for that, they were not putting water down, was that they cannot get the moisture in the soil for the compaction for the building to stay on. So that's why they were laying stone on top of that to keep that dust down, which I believe that's now 100% completed for what they have built out.
Okay.
But we were not on site today. We were at the neighbor's house.
All right. Second item is, I know I sent an email about some abandoned vehicles. So I wasn't sure if...
I do know a little bit about this. Christine Savage does have that issue, and I think she was out. I don't know the location.
There was several.
There's several. So I know she was out there today, but I don't know what the outcome was. But I know she was acting on that today because I was talking to her about something else.
Okay, great. And I think that's all I had. Thanks, Quinn. I really
There's
appreciate it.
the other one from today? She's
No,
also
no, that's fine. I give you some time.
she got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Clinton, I want to make sure it's my understanding, if someone has an abandoned car, it certainly can't be on the street. That's correct, right? If someone has one car that's in their driveway, is that permitted?
I believe there's one car permitted on the property that can be unlicensed and unregistered.
One unlicensed on their property, right? Okay, so I'm going to report one tomorrow I saw in Andalusia that had jacks up, but it may be a temporary thing, but I'm going to ride by it.
But like I said, I believe the zoning says you're allowed to have one, and that's it.
But when you talk about unlicensed, I mean, if it's got, if it's got jacks on it, and it's obviously it's not drivable.
Right.
At what point do we say, hey, it's an eyesore?
We had that up in Trevas, and they did take care of that. They had to take them to court and have them remove the vehicle.
Sorry, is that what
because it was there.
Can we amend our code to address something to that nature?
I guess we could
That would
make
be amending the zoning code then.
Yeah,
The
it's a
zoning
little bit
ordinance.
stricter, but it's one car, but it's hard to, when someone gets out of control, you have to just bear down on them, I guess.
That's all I had for you then. Thank you so much, Quinn. Just a couple other things, positive items. I just want to say congratulations to the robotics club at the high school. As some of the school board directors had come in at the latter part of the meeting, they had recognized that I was not at a particular event this evening. So I did want to also congratulate Schaefer's students that were inducted into the National Honor Society this evening. And in particular, my son was part of that group. So I just, yeah, thanks. He's actually stopped in to see me in action here this evening, but obviously he's got school tomorrow. But I did want to say how proud I really am of him and eighth grade. Yeah, so just a great job to all those students down there. And then just a happy Easter and happy Passover, everyone. Thank you.
Mr. Blair, do you have anything?
Phillies won, 4-3.
Okay.
We're 7-2.
Phillies won,
They were
4-3.
They were losing 2-0 and came back and won the game.
Throw that
so-
DVD back, throw the DVR away.
Since I can't have my Flyers, it's going to be Phillies time now. I just wanted to wish
Did the Flyers
everybody
officially
happy
not make the playoffs at this point?
Yes, they did not make it.
Yeah, I know.
holidays. Season's been over. 5 games ago, it was
I
over.
thought maybe they might change the rules to get them in
Happy
there.
Easter and happy.
Just to touch on that, Bernie Perrant is going to have a major back operation. So keep him in your prayers. He was just in the other day, I was talking to him. He can hardly walk right now, so he's going in for a big operation.
50 years ago, man.
Something having to do with all those pucks had.
Yeah. Mr. Kisselback, do you have anything to add, or?
I'm just going to wish everyone a happy Passover and happy Easter. Be with your family and enjoy yourself, and we'll see you in a short time. God bless you.
Okay. Yeah, I would also like to wish everybody a happy Easter and a holy Easter and Passover celebration for you and your family. I also want to mention that Valley's opening day is April 13th at 9 o'clock. I got an email. It's at 9 o'clock at Valley is opening day. I'd asked to get some updates here on some PennDOT work, okay? State Road in Bensalem, Mechanicsville Road in Bensalem. State Road between Station Avenue and Bristol Borough in Bensalem. Station Avenue, Cornwallis Avenue between Herringbone Avenue and Unionville Road in Bensalem Township. I hate to mention this with the gentleman that was here tonight, but it says Mill Road between State Road and US 13 on Bristol Pike in Bensalem Township, but hopefully it's a temporary inconvenience and a permanent improvement. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we'll be, look out for that. And with that, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.